All right. It is another Tuesday night, which means it's time for the Big Three podcast. So here with the normal crew, got Jordan, Dylan, Jake. All right, Dylan, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, doing pretty good. Getting closer to March Madness, so I'm watching all these conference championship games today.
Yeah,
Also
I
coming
was
off a pretty
all
good
over the
UFC
ACC today.
pay-per-view, too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, how'd that Boston College game go? I watched up to the first half, but then I had to go do some other errands.
BC pulled away from Louisville late. It was a little sketchy though. I thought Louisville might pull it off, but yeah, BC.
I know it was close at half, but yeah, I'm just watching these conference championship games. So I'm excited for that Gonzaga game tonight. Gonzaga St. Mary's for this for their conference championships tonight as well too. So
Definitely too, because that's always a pretty good matchup. Jake, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here. Don't know if any of y'all are wrestling fans, but AEW had a fantastic pay-per-view on Sunday, Revolution.
it was very good.
It was.
I did watch.
I've been watching AEW since Full Gear 2021, and it's the best pay-per-view that I've seen. So if anyone wants to get the replay, it's definitely worth the money. But otherwise, I'm great and excited to be here.
All right. Jordan, what's up?
How you doing, man? I'm doing pretty good, man. Like you said before the show, it's been crazy. With all these moves and that's what. Even though that might, niggas have the debates and arguments here and there, but it brings sports content. So,
Exactly.
especially since the MLB is coming up, NBA is coming to an end. The playoffs is coming around the corner with that. Like Dino said, March Madness. Now all we have left to talk about NFL is the draft and what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers and Lamar and all these other pieces. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Agency next week. So
yeah, I think franchise tag players can talk to other teams Monday. I think. So.
Yeah, that's going to be a whole thing because we're going to see all the rumors about who's talking to who, rumored deals and all that. But before we get into all that, because like Jordan just said, basketball, there's one story in particular that we're definitely going to touch on. And then NFL, a lot of player news that we'll talk about. So before we get into any of those, talk about baseball really quickly because it is getting closer to opening day.
Like a couple more weeks.
Obviously, once opening day happens, a couple of weeks away. Spring
like
training.
March 28th, I think. Or like the March 28th before.
Yeah.
I think March 28th, and then it's like at the end of the March going to April. So.
Yeah, I just know end of March. Whenever it pops up, I'm like, oh, there we go. But you got World Baseball Classic coming up. I don't know if any of you guys watch that or not.
I was watching the Dominican Republic side for Vladdy, but he's kind of been out now. So I kind of strayed away. College basketball's on, so the conference championships have been catching my attention.
I know. There's a lot to try to watch right now. But I did see an interesting article, though. This was probably like a week or so ago. And I think it was from The Athletic. But there was a guy who said, like, what if baseball realigned and went with more like geographical divisions? And I know a lot of people like kind of in the comment section were like, what are you talking about? I just wanted to bring it up just to see what you guys thought. So basically you would look at a division where you'd have like the Red Sox, Yankees, Mets, I think Phillies. And then you'd probably have one with like Blue Jays. I mean, they're kind of stuck up there in Toronto, but Pirates, I guess, kind of in that area. Would you be opposed to something like that? Oh yeah, if you had Seattle, you do like Seattle,
Pittsburgh,
who's really close to Seattle? Like,
be like
Seattle's close to no one. That's a lot of travel though. That's a lot of cross country travel. You could do like Seattle, and then the Bay Area. So you get Oakland, you get San Francisco, and then I don't know, Colorado Rockies.
So Orioles will get like what? Boston.
Yeah, so if we went with all the Kyles, we'd have the Orioles, Nationals, Blue Jays, Pirates would probably be in that group.
What is these? Is it like more like kind of like the NFL like divisions, I guess, is close by.
Not really. It's
same
just
format,
geographical. Yeah,
geographical.
it's just like the closest four teams play each other, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, would they still have like the play 4-game series?
Yeah, it'd be probably the same exact thing. Just you'd have to realign everything and be exactly how the MLB is, but you just think some of the AL teams would now be on the NL, vice versa, or whatever they would call it.
So
I mean, it'd be interesting.
Something with like Mets Braves would no longer happen in the regular season necessarily, at least not as often, since the Mets would be with the Red Sox or the Yankees.
Yeah, one thing with that though,
Orioles probably would be with like the Braves or something. I don't know how you'd really make that work.
But one thing, Kyle, is if I remember correctly, this season coming up, they're making it so that every MLB team plays each other, has a series against each other this year, and they're taking away more division games to kind of compensate for that. So even if we did this realignment, then the Mets and Braves are still going to play each other. They'll have like one series, and we're not going to lose as many as we would have 5 years ago, where the divisional teams are playing each other a lot more. I think it could be fun. I mean, anything that can help bring up interest in baseball, I'm all for.
Yeah,
because
I like it.
I want to watch baseball.
I mean, I like the whole because like the NBA, I think out. I think you play one team once outside your conference, like say like Lakers versus Celtics. But then you'll get like Warriors, Lakers 4 times a year. I mean, I don't know. I like the rivalry thing, Boston Red Sox. I mean, even though it's different teams, different generation of players, it takes away that that competitive where it used to be Boston Celtics and I was outside conference, but like those rivalries. I mean, it's kind of taken away like that. It's only playing at one time. I like that back and forth, kind of like that series.
I get that in a sense. I don't hate it. I mean,
I don't hate it.
It probably cuts down on a lot of travel costs. It probably cuts down on a lot of stuff. I imagine the MLB could do a lot more things just overall with fans, or just put more money back into the sport, whatever that would be, or however they would do that. I imagine that would probably save a lot. Imagine that would probably make the players feel a lot better as well, too, not having to travel as much, because all of their conference games are going to be fairly close to home. They're not going to be traveling as far as what they normally would be in some cases. So, I mean, in a sense, I think it could work. It just probably depends on the person you would talk to, but I like it. I mean, I wouldn't hate the idea.
I think I have to get used to if they
were. I think the real question is, what rivalries would we lose? Like Yankees, Red Sox, they're close enough, and MLB is not stupid enough to pull them apart. What other big rivalries are we at risk of losing? We could probably keep Dodgers, Giants. I know they have gone back and forth. Like you could find ways, because there isn't a whole lot of rivalries that are divisional, that are huge distance. Like you think a team like Seattle, like they travel. They have to go down to Texas for both Houston and the Texas Rangers. That's a lot of travel. That's a lot that they're doing on top of everything else, as opposed to just going down to Oakland, San Francisco, and LA. I think it'd be great. I'd want to see what the teams were, but I'm not against it. Like I said, anything that can stir up some interest in baseball, I'm all for.
So with that new format, would it be still like 162 games? Would they cut it down?
Yeah. They're not. Baseball doesn't want to change that because they want the money. They don't want to change the games. Even though I think it could be smart, they're not going to change that.
Man, like also on the flip side, I'm very open-minded. So it's like you could also use this as like a way to create new rivalries. Like I know some people would like the old classic ones, but like also you can just create new ones. I mean, why not?
Well, and you could also have better chances to integrate rivalries, like the Mets and Yankees could play each other. The White Sox and Cubs could play each other more often, and then you have not inner city, but city rivalries going against each other that could spice things up, bring up home attendance and all of that. I think it could be pretty good.
I know. I imagine if you put a conference of I know they probably wouldn't do this, but probably if you had the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Mets, all of them in a conference, literally the Battle of the North every year, that'd be you could get hyped. You could build some hype around.
No, they would do that. That would be the smart way to do it. And
are they talking about it, or are they?
I think someone suggested it, as a.
All right, so I did find the article. So the suggestion was based off of expansion, because apparently baseball's talking about expanding to get to 32 teams. So the article was done off of expanding, doing geography-based division. So what they had was the East Division would be Red Sox, Mets, Yankees, Phillies. North Division would be the Cincinnati, Cleveland, Detroit, Toronto. The Mid-Atlantic would be Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Washington, and Charlotte, which they're saying that'd be one expansion team in Charlotte. Southeast, you get the Braves, Marlins, Rays, and then Nashville. They're saying that'd be an expansion team in Nashville. Then Midwest, Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, Twins. Southwest, Astros, Royals, Cardinals, Rangers. Then the Pacific Coast, you'd have the Rockies, Mariners, Giants. They have Oakland / Vegas for the A's because, the A's are always battling with Oakland. I feel like they're going to Vegas at some point, so I'd just say Vegas A's. And then the West would be Diamondbacks, Angels, Dodgers, Padres.
I love it.
So the two expansions would be who? It'd be Charlotte and who's the other one? Nashville.
I love it. Like, I feel like you could create some new rivalries, you preserve some new ones. As a Milwaukee Brewers fans, it makes me happy to get away from the Cardinals, like get away from those teams that have tormented the Brewers for years. Like, I think it'd be fun. And you added some more teams. I think you could have a ton of drama with that Northeast where you have three of the big spenders in one division. That's going to create a ton of interest. I don't think there's any real major rivalries that we're losing. And there's not a ton of rivalries that people get really hyped for anyways. And with just 4 teams per division, like you're going to be playing more and you have a chance to really create some new heated rivalries to give some juice. I'm all for it. You get me all excited for this, Kyle, and it's not going to happen, but I'm all for it.
I don't see why it couldn't. The traditionalists will be like, oh, you're breaking up like Red Sox Orioles. Think of how long. It's like, okay, we can move past that.
I live an hour and a half away from the Orioles. I live an hour and a half from the Orioles, and no one cares that I talk to about that. The Red Sox and Orioles.
Jake, so you live near Baltimore?
Hour and a half. I'm in Virginia.
Oh, nice, man. But I thought you were somewhere like out where Dylan is, like out west somewhere.
I grew up out west, but I've lived here for a few years. But like, no one cares. Like, the only rivalries people really, there's only a few that they care about, and they seems like they're preserving. So if we get a Nationals Orioles to play each other consistently like that, I'd go to those games.
And the
hop
Orioles,
on the
I say the Orioles are getting they've always been that bad team. They're getting improved, so
no, they'll be good. They'll be good this year. They'll be good. Yeah. I'm all for it. I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, I have no problem with it either because, like you said, the East Division you don't have to worry about. Boston, New York, Philadelphia, those cities already hate each other, so you're good there. But Cincinnati and Cleveland, natural for Ohio. Baltimore, Washington, like I said. Even the Southeast, Marlins, Rays, 2 Florida teams that kind of seem like they're misplaced where they are now because of the Rays with the Northeastern teams. It's like, all right, the ballpark stinks and you got to travel all the way down there. Who really wants to go to that game? And at least with Miami, you create a little Florida vibe to it. That could really help probably both franchises. So I would be down for it too. I don't see why baseball wouldn't do it.
Yeah, you could do like cheesy stuff like the Battle of the Bay. Like you could do so much marketing. Like
yep.
Well, they already had the Subway Series with the
exactly. Like they had the Subway Series in 2000 for the World Series. You get that 3 or 4 times a year. To have all of it, it'd be perfect. We need to go contact MLB, push it. Our 4 votes, and make it happen.
Sports Empire Network vote.
I would be completely down.
Now since we're talking about it more, I guess it's more like it's something I gotta get used to. Like, cause I'm more a traditionalist about, not. I'm not saying I'm a full on traditionalist. I'm just saying like I'm gonna miss those like those
like all it will take is for like these teams to start playing good series against each other and just have good matchups, and people are gonna be like, I could get behind this. Like if you just play good sport, people will get behind it.
Yep.
I always feel like the NFL should do the same with because they have Patriots, Jets, Miami.
Miami's just the outlier in that division. Miami's just the outlier.
I've always said that.
I guess the North is kind of true. I guess
the Dolphins could have been fixed though when they moved the Colts out because Peyton was struggling so bad. if they had moved Miami to the AFC South and left the Colts in the AFC East, it would look much better seeing Miami, Tennessee, teams like that instead of the Colts with them and Miami still stuck with the Patriots in them. But
I guess it is kind of like that because like Baltimore, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, they're all in like kind of the same.
Yeah.
No, the NFL is pretty good. The one that's really messed up is the NBA, but we could talk about that another time. I mean, the NBA's geography is all messed up. Because the NFL was really jacked up until the Texans came around. Because I remember my Saints were in the NFC West with the Falcons and the Panthers, all three of them in the NFC West, which made no sense. But then they got to 32 teams and fixed everything but the Dolphins. It should be in the South. How many teams do
the MLB have? Like 20-something, 26?
Baseball has 30.
30. So
they're trying to get to
2 more
match.
Yep.
And I'm not sure how I feel about Nashville and Charlotte being both the places.
I mean, they have a hockey team, and they're not even that good.
I will say Nashville and Charlotte are vastly improving, like metro areas, so it makes sense to tap into that.
I see why.
Plus, you get the Vegas market with the A's moving there. Because I would have said if the A's stayed in Oakland, you had to go to Vegas, but if you move the A's there, then you cover that as well.
So I'll just defend those two because Charlotte, from what I've heard, their AAA team has some of the best home attendance of any AAA team. So I think that's kind of where they're getting some of that idea from. But it's a big market. You can get both North and South Carolina. And then Nashville is just a huge party town. Like, I don't know if any of y'all have been there. Like, Nashville's awesome. Like, you can go tourists there and bring them in for games. Like, there's a need for more to do in Nashville aside from just partying. So I could see both of them working out pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I mean, anything else you guys want to talk about baseball-wise before we move on?
I think we're good.
I'm ready for the season.
We just got spring training stuff, really. Nothing really interesting there.
All right, looks like Freddie's trying to connect, but... all right.
Dr. Freddie, man. Oh,
I know.
Where'd he go?
The doctor's in. What's up, Freddie?
What's going on, gentlemen? How y'all doing?
How you doing?
Good to see you, boss man.
We were talking about MLB and everything, so.
Hey, have Jordan started crying yet?
No, we haven't done that yet. We're about to get into NFL now, so it could happen. It could happen.
Get some tissues.
So I'm assuming that's why you jumped on, because for the NFL. So let's go ahead and talk.
Yeah, 6 cents for that, Freddie.
Yeah, so let's talk about the NFL. Well, we'll talk about the combine first, and then we'll talk about the franchise tag and all that.
Freddie wants me to get
to
like right now. That's why he came in.
I mean, certain guys
go ahead.
really helped themselves with the combine. Nolan Smith. I mean, Anthony Richardson he was kind of rising before it, but he didn't necessarily hurt himself at all. Will Levis, guys like that.
Oh, did you hear about that lineman that hurt himself and did the bench press with like one leg?
Yeah, I did. I did.
That's what I mean. Like when I was on that show the other day, like I guess it's a risk worth taking. There's these linemen doing the 40s, but I mean, he. I don't know. I don't know how. I think he's the top 100 of the draft. Like, so he's like, I don't know where he's gonna fall, but
he'll be fine.
Did like 38 reps on the bench press.
Yeah, so because of that, his stock is fine. You know, he hurt himself in the 40. I mean, it's
an ACL tear, so he's out.
That could talk to conditioning, possibly, because we've seen a bunch of linemen run it. It's not like we're having like 10, 15 guys tearing up their knee running it. So maybe it was with him pushing himself a little bit hard to run maybe a personal best where necessarily you don't need that from an offensive lineman. We just want to see like if you can actually, I don't know, just get on the line really. So that's just an outlier. I wouldn't like overreact and be like, oh, linemen shouldn't run the 40 anymore. Like, don't go that far. But I mean, any thoughts you guys had on the combine?
Yeah. I mean, overall. Go ahead. You can go ahead.
Go ahead, Dylan. Go ahead.
No, you're going to talk about Bryce. You're going to say something good about Bryce Young, so I'm going to say something bad about Bryce Young. So get your good.
Well, no, I mean, I was going to say Bryce Young. I didn't know because he's doing his pro day in a week or two or whatever. So, I mean, I'm excited to see what he does, because he listed, like the same like measurement as like Colin Murray.
Of course, Gene chiming in. What's going on?
And everyone's taking a shot. I don't know what I did wrong here. But anyways, Like other than Bryce Young, measure that same thing as got Kyler Murray. So I'm trying to see how he throw. I mean, obviously he's a good thrower, but he with his size, everyone thought that Kyler Murray, he thinks listed at 5'10", 5'11 and a half, I think. Well, I mean, I'm trying to see what he does at his pro day. But other than that, I mean, Anthony Richardson, had a good showing. The wide receivers were good, fast, agile, talented. Probably one of the best recent wide receiver drafts as far as speed and talent. Jordan Addison, you got, Jackson Nijon. However you say his name, Smith, and Nick Jigba. Yeah. So
I'm sure Goodell's gonna have fun saying it too.
Oh, I bet. Oh, yeah. Go on.
All right, I think that's Dylan's cue. Let's hear it.
So it isn't really basically anything that outside of Bryce Young sitting. I think that was the worst decision he possibly could have made at this combine. So he bulked up, cool, whatever. How much of that is at his actual weight? Who knows? He's probably walking around with 15 pounds of water in him. That's why he chose not to do anything working out wise. But him sitting was probably the worst thing he could have done because all these other quarterbacks just killed the combine and just different things. You look at Anthony Richardson, tested super well. He threw very well. CJ Stroud threw very well. Will Levis threw very well. All these quarterbacks killed for him. Killed at the combine, just if it was testing or just overall playmaking or just different things. All of them rose their stock. With Bryce Young sitting and waiting for his pro day, now he has one chance to show some of these scouts when everyone here at the combine was throwing to NFL talented receivers and killing their interviews. I think the biggest riser out of all of this would probably have to be Anthony Richardson. He was just the talk of the combine, basically. Tested very well, ran the 40 very well, jumped very well, which I don't think matters, but overall, just tested very well. And he also interviewed very well from what I heard as well, too. Everyone was saying he was one of the best interviews when it comes to a quarterback. So, he was someone who's looked as kind of a project player, and now he has potential of going first overall. I've seen him being mocked first overall.
I've seen that too, yeah. I will say Gene's point of view was Bryce Young has so much tape from college with Alabama, national championships and all that he doesn't necessarily have to go to the combine, where guys like Anthony Richardson might test well because they're physically better than him, even though Bryce Young, you've seen him play in the SEC against SEC defenses, and he's been great. So that's where Gene came from, because we talked about that last night on Cheap Seats. But I'll just let you know, Dylan, where Gene's coming from with his great decision for him to sit.
Hey, Anthony, we're just waiting on the next topic, brother. But it ain't gonna be crazy. It's gonna be fire, though. It's gonna be fire.
So Gene
I understand Gene's point on. I understand Gene's point on that, but in a quarterback class that I would say is fairly close, because it's not like Bryce Young is a solidified number one pick, even though we think that. After this combine, we saw people like Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud, be mocked number one more. And regardless of him going 1, 2, or 3 doesn't really change anything money-wise. I mean, outside of the bragging right of being first overall, I do think these quarterbacks did help their stock a lot more. With Bryce Young sitting, I think it wouldn't necessarily hurt his stock, but it did do nothing to gain, because all he did was just measure, while these quarterbacks tested very well and measured well at the combine as well, too.
Gene has another question for you. Did you watch Richardson play at Florida?
Yeah. Yeah, I watched his games. I mean, also, a lot of the times the Florida receivers did drop the football too. I mean, he wasn't the greatest thrower, but it's not like he was a horrible quarterback. He's going this high for a reason.
Yeah. Well, I think with Richardson, teams would look at Richardson and say maybe he's on a Josh Allen path where first couple of years maybe he struggles unless you have the right offensive staff there to really help him. Quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, maybe you get something out of him that necessarily his game tape doesn't show. But because of the measurables, we know that some teams really love this combine process and may reach on guys based off of their 40 time and all that, not necessarily worrying about can they just throw the ball, because that's the most important thing as a quarterback. But we'll see what Richardson, because if he were to go first overall, whichever team trades up to that point to get him, he's going to be under the microscope like from day one, because there's going to be a lot of people like Gene who will say he doesn't deserve that, whereas there'll be others who will say, well, look at him at the combine. Clearly, he's the best quarterback. So I don't know. Combine's always tricky to me. But
yeah, I mean, I'm like Gene. I mean,
oh, I was just saying, me saying that is not me saying that Richardson is better than Bryce Young by any means. If I had to pick between all four of these quarterbacks, Bryce Young is probably definitely the dude I'm going to pick. But I was just saying Bryce Young not doing anything, didn't raise his stock while these other guys were doing stuff. And
I mean, I see where Gene's coming from, because like me, so I have Xfinity.
I said I just said I would still draft Young. So I mean,
so I have Xfinity, so I'm only limited to like SEC, ACC network, and other other than if it's like on ABC, like Alabama or a big name school on that national TV. So I don't get to see like the highlights. I can go on YouTube, look at his highlights, Anthony Richardson, but yeah, like me, I'm a guy like Gene said, I don't really watch his games, but I watch the highlights, and what they've shown is he has that speed. Maybe I need to watch the game on YouTube, whatever, or a couple games so you can determine But obviously, with Gene's point, like with his throw mechanics, like he can get that improved, like with a good system, with a good QB coach, with a good coordinator. I mean, imagine him going to San Fran with Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I'm just throwing a random team out there. I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Coordinator. So.
Yeah, you're saying a system with an offensive coach who seems like they know what they're doing in terms of quarterback play.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, Josh Allen is a focal point because he was a kind of a not an inaccurate thrower out of the draft. But then after 2 years, he got better with Dable or Dable.
You never know. He might. Baltimore's going to need a quarterback.
Anyways,
but also, with Anthony Richardson, with Anthony Richardson, the thing with him is he has like what NFL scouts want when it comes to size, when it comes to speed, when it comes to different things like that. So he might not be the best when it comes to actual tape, but if they can see him improve, that he kind of has the mold of like an NFL quarterback, and plus he runs 4.4, which is also very crazy for a quarterback. So it's just one of those things. If you can get him into the right system, you could potentially hit on him. If you hit on him, you could get a generational quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know if he's the fastest QB in the draft. I don't think Lamar did the combine, or I don't think he did a 40-yard dash when he was
Young didn't do. Well, he wasn't the fastest quarterback in the combine, but he was the fastest quarterback this year. Pretty sure. I'm not sure if that was the fastest test.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony practiced it on the nail,
That's the comparison. Richardson is Cam Newton. I mean, Cam Newton was very, you either really loved Cam Newton or you saw all the warts in his game and weren't a fan. And Cam Newton never really figured out the accuracy.
Wasn't he the most hit quarterback in NFL?
Was he the
most targeted?
That's part of his game. Look, I'll say this as a Saints fan. I hated Cam Newton, and I only hated him because he could just torch the Saints' terrible defense for years and years. So if the comp works out, it's going to be great, but you have to be careful with these combines to not fall in love with these practice drills, because the best example I could say is the Jets quarterback, Zach Wilson. I watched a lot of BYU football because I was close to that area. I have a lot of friends that were either at the University of Utah or BYU, and I didn't see it when he skyrocketed up to number 2 because of those throws. I'm like, I don't see it. So these scouts kind of talk themselves into it and almost build into a snowball. And sometimes it's right, and sometimes it's wrong. Sometimes it's wrong, like Zach Wilson. Sometimes it's right, like Josh Allen, and it takes time. It's really just, it's almost a gamble at this point. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going to go top 2, but I definitely think he's made his way as the third quarterback to be taken, simply because his upside is going to be so high. Those physical traits are so hard. Like, you could coach, if you get a good coaching staff, you could fix the flaws in his game. You can't teach height. You can't teach speed. You can't teach toughness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, with Zach Wilson, we know he shot up the boards once. The minute somebody said he looked like Patrick Mahomes, that solidified everything to these teams. It was like, oh, we got to take him then, even though most everybody who watched college football that year knew Zach Wilson was not that guy. I was a big believer in Fields. I didn't know a lot about Lance, but I did not think Fields was going to be the fourth guy drafted out of that group. I thought that was crazy, but you know, I'm not.
I think
thanks, Gene. By the way, appreciate that.
Like Jake said, I think it's either. I mean, so so far it's Bryce Young, possibly one, and then Colts number 2 with Stroud or whatever pick they got, but it's either
whoever gets one
or Richardson gets it. So it's either those 2 quarterbacks third. They're gonna be going third. So, but I know Freddie's been on mute all this time, and he bringing some subliminal shots at me. So go ahead, you go first, man. It's your boy getting all that money today, man.
What's the question?
Are we talking to?
We talking Lamar about Jackson, the Ravens? Man. Go ahead, bro.
So here's the question. We'll start with Lamar Jackson. Now, we see that the Ravens put the non-exclusive franchise tag on him. I guess the first question would be, what team should make an offer for him? We'll start with that.
Who needs a quarterback?
Any team that needs a quarterback. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, who are you, the Atlanta Falcons, to come out and say that you're not interested in Carolina? Who are you? You haven't got it right since Cam Newton. I mean, the Houston Texans, I mean, good gosh, do we need to talk about that? I mean, it's every team does not have a starting quarterback. I mean, hey, the Lamar Jackson era in Baltimore is over. It's done. It's completed. That chapter is closed. But you mean to tell me that the Atlanta Falcons would not want to have an electrifying quarterback like Lamar? I agree, Gene. He's overpricing himself. I definitely agree with you on that. But hey, I agree. Anthony Price brought up a great point. But I just know that the days of him being Baltimore is over. Jordan here is going to become some other team, but he's going to be a fan of some other team to whatever team he goes to. No, you ain't going to be. No, you won't.
I'm gonna let you talk, man. At the floor, man, before I attack.
Hey, because we just seen in our trivia that you didn't even know a question about your own team. Okay, so we just seen that this past weekend. Key asked you a question about the Baltimore Ravens, and you were like,
I mean, no one got it. No one got it. I didn't know.
But you should have got it. You should have gotten it. You should know your team more than anybody else.
Okay. I mean, now,
Gene brings up a point.
Are you done?
Randy, you can't talk about people changing teams. Just
whenever I ever change teams, tell me the time.
Oh my God, brother!
Rams to the Giants.
See, Dylan, let me put clarification on that. I've always been a Giants fan. Always liked them.
So always, why'd you switch?
I did not like how they handled the whole Brian Flores situation. That was a bunch of BS. I didn't like that. Okay, so yeah. So I was born in LA, born in California. So I said I'm gonna root for the Rams. But you know what I had to remember, Jordan, that I'm a child of God. And God wants us to forgive everybody, forgive all men. So I said, I gotta forgive them. And I did. And
I got a question to that.
Okay, go ahead.
Become a Rams fan the Super Bowl year?
They didn't win the Super Bowl when I became a Rams fan.
Okay, I was just wondering how long ago it was. Okay, I mean,
because Gene, at that time, it became my Super Bowl. What are you talking about, my brother? I mean, I understand you're a little hurt because the little birdies couldn't get it done. I understand that, but that don't mean come from me. Just saying.
Don't poke a bear, yo.
I'm poking the bear. Somebody said Gene the link to get on here. I'm poking the bear. I want all smoke today.
Anyway, all right, are you done?
I mean, Gene could put in the chat if you want to jump on. I mean,
I bet he won't.
Well, I mean, okay, so looking at the Lamar situation, like, which team do you think should be first in line tomorrow offering him a deal?
Can I say
what would be the best situation for him?
I'll say
me or first or everyone?
the last team that I want to
Whoever wants
see
to get that.
get Lamar is the Carolina Panthers. That would scare the ever-living daylights out of me as a Saints fan because that roster is good. They have a good coaching staff. They have good players.
Other than DJ Moore, who are their receivers?
I mean, they have other ways to go for it. They're well coached.
That's a
I can't
top
see off the top of my head, but look at what they almost made the playoffs. If Moore doesn't,
Gene, so.
If Moore doesn't take his helmet off against the Falcons on that and gets penalized for that celebration, they're in the playoffs with just garbage QBs. Like you add Lamar into that, and Lamar doesn't need good receivers to win an MVP award. Am I right? Like, who's his best receiver outside as a wide receiver?
I forgot. Lamar's the MVP and Daniel Jones is not.
What 4 or 5 years ago?
I'm not saying that. Well, no, I'm just saying like he can make things happen. He gets in a good organization that believes in him. I don't want to see him in Carolina. I think Carolina would go after it. If I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, I'm willing to give up those 2 draft picks. I think I can win that division and make noise in a very weak NFC because the NFC's weak and the NFC South is up for grabs, and Lamar could take it.
Jake, you do realize Jake, you do realize that MVP was literally 4 or 5 years ago, bro.
Yeah, I know it was 4 or 5 years ago, but he's still won it.
Didn't Mahomes get it 3 years ago, 2 years? 4 years ago?
But guess what? Mahomes,
he got it before Mahomes, right?
But guess what, Jordan?
I'm just saying,
guess what, Jordan? Mahomes.
Let's be consistent, man.
Hold on. But you do realize that Mahomes has remained relevant in postseason.
Look who he's had. He had Tyreek Hill.
What about this year? What about this year?
He had his best year this year without any good receivers.
He had a better offensive coordinator than me. Anyways.
Stop it, Jordan. I don't want to hear it.
Ready? Anyways. All right. You talk. It's my talk. It's my turn to talk. So,
okay.
One, the Ravens in Lamar is not over yet. Like Gene said, the Ravens did the right thing. What did Gene say? Mahomes won it.
Yeah, Mahomes won the MVP.
So, my thing is the Ravens and Lamar. It's not done. Like Gene said, they did the right thing with putting the non-exclusive tag on.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm pretty sure it was a couple weeks ago. You didn't want them to do the non-exclusive tag. You wanted.
Well, I didn't know the. Well, hold on. I did say, but I mean,
that would get to first. That's a little interesting.
I mean, that would be the. If the Baltimore want to get a deal done, they would put the exclusive tag. But it's $45 million.
Hey Jordan, real quick, brother. You tap dancing worse than Michael Jackson right now. You really are, brother.
I think Lamar is being disrespected right now because he is an MVP. I mean, he's an MVP.
4 or 5 years
ago, Ryan.
He has a 40-something and 15 record as a starting quarterback in the NFL. If the Ravens move on from Lamar, we might be in an offensive rebuild at the quarterback position.
Jordan, you do realize that.
So the answer to your question, Kyle, I think the Ravens should be the first team, and then the Carolinas should be the last team.
Hey, Kyle, I'm gonna piggyback real quick. Okay. You do understand that when Eli was on the Giants, it wasn't no disrespect. He was a 2-time Super Bowl champion. But guess what? He was done. It was time for him to go. Just like Lamar Jackson. He can't stay healthy. He have not been able to finish the season. And matter of fact, they added a game to the season. So am I sure that he's able to stay healthy? Because guess what? He depends on his legs 100% of the time. He's not an accurate passing quarterback. I mean, hey, bro, this should be a mutual on both sides divorce. The Baltimore Ravens should want to move from Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson should want to move from the Baltimore Ravens.
You saying that it's over is not because Ravens can match an offer.
Bro,
but the Ravens have been talking to him for a while now.
Do you think it's? I had the receipts in the group chat. Y'all saying, "Oh, Lamar to the Falcons." Maybe not you, Kyle. Maybe you're off the hook. But you're like, that's what I'm saying. But you're like, oh, to the Falcons, to the Panthers.
It doesn't matter. Just because someone makes a report that says they're out doesn't mean they're out. They could just not show interest. Like Anthony said earlier, Cleveland was out on Deshaun Watson before he was literally traded there 2 hours later. Remember when Cleveland told Baker Mayfield that he was the quarterback there and they were going to keep him, and then they traded for Deshaun Watson? Literally, any owner or GM could wake up tomorrow and be like, actually having Lamar Jackson on my team would be a good idea. Let's do that instead. Like,
it's a whole different situation. Browns were desperate, and they didn't have a quarterback.
You have to remember this.
Anytime they weren't relevant in the AFC North
teams, he's going to be biased. Oh, even if they reported it, he's not going to believe it. He's going to be so biased.
The coach,
it's not real. It's not
Miami.
True.
Who's their fucking coach? Miami, Mike McDaniel or whatever his name is. He said that they're going with Tua. He said that. Okay. He said a statement.
Cleveland said they're going with Baker. I will bring this up every time. You can say whatever you want to appease the fans. You can say whatever you want to appease the media. If you don't want attention drawn on your team right now, just say you won't do anything.
I get the situation is sticky, and I wish it hadn't got this situation. But Gene's right. Let Lamar test the market, see what his floor is. That's what the Ravens are doing.
That on the Ravens' part.
Exactly, yeah. So it's better for them.
Lamar, if I'm the Ravens and I give you a non-exclusive tag, you go out there and find that deal you think there's out there. And if the team wants to sign you, we get 2 firsts for you. So we could replace you in the draft, maybe easily, depending on who falls. And then you go to a team that maybe isn't even set up for you and try to figure it out there. We have our guys. Well, let's say Anthony Richardson is available when the Ravens, I mean, probably not, but let's say he fell to that point and they were like, we could probably do something with Richardson. You know, he's a mobile guy. We just had one. We know how to build around that.
Hey, Lamar's thinking
that Lamar is the best quarterback on the market, so he should get top dollar. As Freddie said, durability is now an issue with Lamar. He's been hurt the past 2 years. With quarterbacks, and there have been lower body injuries too. A guy who bases his talent on speed, you start knocking away at that with a knee injury here, a hamstring there, then what does he become? That's the problem teams are going to have. It's not like you could have Lamar sit in the pocket 50 times a game and kill defenses. That's not who he is. That's Lamar's issue.
Hey, Kyle, I want to add something to it as well. Okay. The Baltimore Ravens was never really that interested in Lamar from day one. Let's just be honest. If they was interested
Hooker at AC, I don't want Hooker. I mean, he's injury prone too.
If
they was that interested in Lamar, they would have signed him after. They would have gave him a contract after he won the MVP, after they won the first playoff game. But guess what? They didn't. That shows you, because we've seen a lot of quarterbacks that have taken that next step and they got the bag. We just seen it out of Daniel Jones. He led his team to the playoffs. And what did the Giants do? They rewarded him with the contract. It's called taking care of your business before it get out of hand, Jordan. And look what has happened now. It's out of hand.
I don't know why I'm not part of the Ravens. It's not my
fault. Oh, but you hurt. You hurt, brother. You sad.
I'm not hurt because I mean we still control the situation.
You are hurt. I've seen you in the group chat these last couple of days. Guys have sent news into the chat. Oh, it's not real. I don't believe them. Then you go find.
I mean, there's so many conflicting reports.
Then you go find. Then you go find something that you want. Say, oh, I believe this person because they said what you want them to say. Just saying.
I want to add in 2 things here just for this discussion real quick with Lamar. So first of all, like his durability is an issue, that's for sure. But the thing that I think we could kind of miss on is with Lamar, he sat out games, but if he had guaranteed money, would he be playing? And I think he would. I think especially this past year where he got hurt, the Baltimore Ravens said it's going to be a couple of weeks and he'll be back, and he never played again. And he did what I would consider to be the right thing, taking care of yourself, because he really hadn't made, up until this year, any big NFL money. This was the first year he got any sort of substantial money, and he's protecting himself. If they gave him that bag, if they gave him that contract with that big money in the offseason, he probably plays. So I do think his durability might be getting stretched a little bit as far as a weakness for him. But as far as with the Ravens go, if they wanted him, they would have paid him. And they're trying to get as much assets as they can. They know they can get 2 first-round picks. Some team, let's say Carolina offers a deal that's like a 4 or 5 year deal, and it averages out to be $45 million a year. Like, we know Baltimore's not going to match that, and he's going to be gone. You'll get your 2 first-round picks, but he'll be gone.
I think for Baltimore, they're looking at this situation as we've put a contract in front of Lamar. He
it's
clearly
like
didn't like it right away.
we know his floor, but it's like now we're going to see if he can go out by himself and test the market, and if not, we're going to match the contract.
But what's the limit that they're going to do? What's the highest they're going to do for a matching?
And on the flip side,
I think Baltimore wants him to go out there and find out that whatever he's looking for isn't out there, and then he goes back to Baltimore and goes, "What you offered me, I'm ready to sign now." That's what Baltimore's looking for.
And on the flip side, are teams willing to give 2 first round picks for Lamar Jackson?
Yes. Yes, they are. They are. Any team.
Denver did the same thing.
Like, and the Rams did it with Stafford. Like, there are teams willing to do it if they think we can win now with Lamar Jackson, a quarterback that is very talented. We would say is probably, well, not probably, he is a top 10 quarterback in the league. He would be traded for. The only thing the Ravens would match would be an offer like somewhat close to theirs. If someone's offering something fully guaranteed, exactly what Lamar wants, they won't do it because they can get 2 first-round picks. They'll just look at this and be like, maybe we could trade Mark Andrews too. Maybe we could just rebuild like our whole offensive system together. We got a new OC in here. Like, what does he want to do?
I want to bring up one other thing. What teams would give up the 2 picks? Let's be real with this one. If you're Atlanta, you're giving up 8 for Lamar. You put Lamar in Atlanta in a division where Carr's with the Saints. You don't know who's the quarterback in Tampa Bay. And Carolina.
Kyle Trask, baby.
Right. Trask in Tampa Bay. And is Carolina going to go into this with what? Darnold or Matt
Corral?
Corral. Lamar in Atlanta, you already think they could win that division next year. All it cost us was the 8th pick this year and a first next. Okay, we could do that.
And that first round draft pick next year is going to be like 24th if it goes to Atlanta. I do not want to see him with
that division. That's already in the 20s.
Exactly. Lamar would have a gadget back in Cordell Patterson, a good young running back in Tyler Algier, who had a really good rookie season.
And look at those receivers.
Drake London.
You don't think that Ravens have?
Drake London.
They got Dobbins. They got. Andrews.
Who's been injured how many times? Who's been injured? Who's had a history of some injuries? Like
had the Cordell had a list of injuries too?
Okay, but Cordell's actually been a Pro Bowl running back with the Falcons. He's had more of his injuries when he's played on other teams rather than the Falcons.
I want to bring another thing up to this discussion. Lamar tried to go the cheap way. He tried to go out there and say, you know what, I'm not going to hire an agent. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to represent myself. I feel like he really needed to have an agent. He made a bad decision of him and his mom. That's no disrespect, because I've heard NFL players say that, you know, there's certain things that they didn't really want to hear from the team. You know, because these teams are going to shout out your weaknesses. They're going to tell you the things that they don't like to devalue you. I believe if he would have had an agent would be able to come to him and say, "Hey, Lamar, this is what you're worth right now, bro. Like, this is where you at. This is the best that you're going to get." But I just believe that Lamar doing it his way is one of the reasons why he's not signed to the Baltimore Ravens right now as well.
You don't mix family with business at all.
Agreed. I will piggyback off what Freddie said. Like, I'm pretty sure like I don't know if it's a direct quote, but pretty much NFL like execs and stuff are like, yeah, it's hard like working with a player with Lamar, because when you have an agent, like, you can normally say and kind of level with those agents. Normally they kind of have the same idea of what the player's normally worth. Would like they said you can normally say stuff to agents that you can't say directly to the player, and the agent's able to relay it back to their player properly.
I am happy about the signing we did, but I mean, Raquan Smith had to have an agent. We got the deal done.
This is a quarterback.
Raquan Smith is not Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's looking to get a lot more money than what Raquan Smith.
I get that. I get that, but I'm saying as far as the agent, he didn't have an agent.
He's a quarterback.
Again, Raquan Smith's not Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Yep. Raquan Smith's not Lamar Jackson. Raquan Smith isn't the face of that franchise.
I'm not comparing. I'm just saying that any team would want Raquan
Sure. Yeah, he's a great
Sure,
player.
sure,
but
sure.
quarterbacks are
But
different.
Roquan got
MVPs
traded there.
are different.
But also, Roquan got traded there with the extent of signing an extension. You know, I imagine he wouldn't have got traded to the Ravens if he didn't talk to, if the Ravens didn't talk to them and they were kind of on a mutual agreement to get an extension done. Regardless of when that got done, it did take a while, but they were able to get an extension done, and that they traded for him because there was a firm belief it could get done.
I think there was a list. I think it was like of a non-exclusive player. I think it was Kirk Cousins. I think Tucker was on that list, and they all got long-term extensions. So Lamar.
Now, can we talk about a real quarterback now?
Oh no.
The situation's just different, Jordan. Like all the other non-exclusive franchise tag spots we have, this is completely different because this bad blood has been brewing for years and years, and it's not. Even if you get Lamar, it's not going to be a pretty situation. There's going to be a lot of bad blood, bad things said back and forth. It's not going to be pretty. This is something we've never really seen before.
Well, hold on, Freddie. But to go to Jake's point, that's where I'm like, if Lamar goes out there, shops himself to teams, and they go, we're not interested. So then he goes back to Baltimore and goes, the offer you made to me, before last season, I'll sign that now. How's Lamar going to feel thinking when they first offered it, he wasn't interested at all, and then to go through all of this to then turn around and sign the same deal again? So it's
just be
going to
humbled.
be tricky for both guys. Baltimore
I think all it would boil down to is he'd just be humbled. You know, he's just going out there to try to find his market value. If he doesn't get the value that he thinks he's worth and has to go, would necessarily say has to go, but thinks like, man, that Ravens offer is really the best offer I got. It'd just be a humbling experience. I think he'd be like, okay, like maybe I need to, go back to the lab and, earn how much I thought I was, because obviously I wasn't worth as much as I thought.
And plus, I mean, think about it. I mean, if we were to put the exclusive tag, obviously I would have no teams coming in to get him.
With that, Gene.
You'd probably feel better about it if he was on the exclusive tag.
I mean, it's $45 million though. I mean, that doesn't give us enough wiggle room to, make any moves as far as other moves. $32 million. But I mean, but
I don't think there's a chance Lamar's going to play in Baltimore on just the tag deal. Whether it was not exclusive or exclusive,
the deal's going to get done eventually at the end of the day.
I'm saying that lets you know how close they were. If it was the exclusive tag, I would sit here and say they probably get a deal done next week.
Yeah, a non-exclusive tag makes me think they're not close.
They want him to go so they could get the 2 first-round picks and start the process over again. Whether it is
or like what Kyle said earlier, they want him to go, like, again, just be humbled and realize he'd maybe not be worth that much. Come back here and sign the good offer we gave you.
Yeah.
Now, can we talk about a real quarterback now?
All right, let's talk about Derek Carr. I saw in the chat people want to talk about Derek Carr, not Daniel Jones. No, let's go ahead, Daniel Jones, Freddie. This is your guy. So, how do you feel about the deal that he signed with the Giants? Are you happy with it?
And Barkley being tagged.
Unlike your quarterback, Jordan, my quarterback cares about putting people around him. Yes, it might seem like a big contract, but it's really a team-friendly contract. The first year is $19 million. So guess what that means, Jordan? It leaves cap space where we can go out and get weapons for Daniel Jones and the Saquon Barkley. It means we can go out and go bring in new pieces around this team.
Don't do a Kenny Golladay again.
No, we releasing him. This contract is an incentivized contract. So I like it. I like the contract. He deserves. When we talk about quarterbacks, it's really based off the market. I don't think this contract is not going to kill the Giants like it's killing the Baltimore Ravens, because like I said, it's team friendly. So, Gene, I absolutely agree. I'm not sitting up here and saying the dude is Aaron Rodgers. So what do you come from me, sir? I mean, like I said, his contract isn't a deal.
On the show, Gene?
I think it's a good deal for Daniel Jones. I think it's a good deal for the Giants because, like I said, it's team friendly. So I'm not sitting up here and saying, "Oh, he's Aaron Rodgers. He's that bad man," or anything like that. It is team friendly. Go look it up, Gene. Go look it up. It's only $19 million for the first year. It is based on a lot of incentives. It is. And when you come on, make sure you have somebody pull up the contract. I'm on my phone. I can't pull it up, and just break it down year by year. Since Gene want to go there.
Hold on, Gene, I got you.
I'm
While we
pulling
wait
it
for
up
that,
too.
I was about to say, why would we wait for that? I was gonna say we could talk about Derek
y'all-
Carr, and I guess my quarterback re-signed as well too. So
Yeah, we got all three of our guys.
Do y'all think that? I mean, one topic that's not on the topics list today, but a point that's on Twitter and other. Do you think that there was some collusion going on with the owners? This is
For what?
the situation.
The Lamar situation?
Yeah.
I thought we moved past that.
So what that was is basically the owners kind of like coming into agreements and being like, hey, we don't want anyone getting a Deshaun Watson like contract again, basically fully guaranteed.
I mean,
yeah, owners are pissed at the Browns, and rightfully so.
They're rightfully so. Yeah. Gene,
I'm
my
about to
guy,
pull-
what's going on?
Oh man.
We got a packed
you-
house today.
I think you're.
Let's talk about a
lagging,
couple
man.
things. Let me get a couple things off my chest real quick. Y'all wanted me to
Go
hop
ahead.
on. I'll be very quick. Number one, I want to address Dylan because I really respect Dylan a ton. I love his opinions. I think he's very intelligent. But you're wrong about the Bryce Young thing. I know we talked about that earlier, but why would you compare against Will Levis and CJ Stroud when they have way better arms than he does? Like, why would you stand there? It's like me going to a club, right? Where I can't show my game. It's just based off looks. I don't like, I'm not going to win the girl. I need to spit game. So Bryce Young's done it at Alabama for 2 years. He doesn't need to go compete against two better looking gentlemen because he's already a better man. That's already been proven. So it doesn't hurt him at all. It actually helps him to not stand next to Will Levis, next to CJ Stroud, who have cannons for arms. That's one. Second, Jordan. I follow what you're saying. No, I follow what you're saying about Lamar Jackson, but if I was a Ravens fan, I would hate Lamar Jackson right now. He's ruining your franchise. You don't realize it. That's okay. Who are they going to sign in free agency, Jordan? They got no money. The answer is nobody. Who's going to sign with that team not knowing who their quarterback's going to be? How much money they're going to have to shell out for a quarterback? What happens if they don't have them? They're not going to sign with that team to play with that Pro Bowl quarterback that you guys sent this year. That's a joke. No one's signing with Baltimore until they have their quarterback situation hemmed up, and they don't. That's number two. And Freddie, you talk about the Giants signed Daniel Jones to a team-friendly deal. Are you out of your mind? That man just walked off the field with a 38-3 L in the playoffs. He got abused. Hold on, let me finish. He got abused in Philly. And you think that's a franchise quarterback? I understand that they only gave him $19 million this year, and a lot of it's bonus ridden. But when you kick the bucket down the road to year 3 and year 4, and you have Daniel Jones, who's not a good quarterback, he's not a top 15 quarterback in the league, and you're paying him $35 million in year 3, who are you signing around him, and how are you replacing him with that much guaranteed money?
Okay, are you done yet?
Yeah, I'm done. I just
to sit up here, you did a lot of dribbling. Okay, I understand that. I respect you. Much love to you, my brother. But to sit up here to talk about, let's put some respect on your team. Who is your team, G? To sit up here and act like your team wasn't that good. I mean, I understand that you lost and all, but put some respect. They did play the best team in the NFC East. They did play the best. No, hold on. No. They did play the best team in the NFC East. They did play the best.
Period.
They did play the best team in the NFC East. They did play the best team in the NFC. Am I right? If you let me finish, I was going to say that if you let me finish. Listen. Look what Daniel Jones did with less around him. It was him and Saquon Barkley. I mean, period. I mean, they brought in Galladay. They had Kadarius Toney. They brought in these receivers last year that they thought was going to work, but it did not work. So guess what they had to do? They put the offense on their shoulders and carried them. So we know we should have. Hey, Daniel Jones have had his best year this year. He proved that he can play with a system. Brian Dable brings a system to New York. It's a team-friendly deal, especially when you're talking about the first year, because it only hits $19 million against the cap. What does that do, Gene? It allows the Giants to go out and say, you know what? They see DeAndre Hopkins is only good. At least they said they reported today. They want a second round pick and maybe 2 round, maybe another pick. If I'm the Giants, I'm going to get a guy like that I can put on the outside. I'm going to put receivers around Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley where they don't have to do as much. If they put receivers around him, upgrade their defense, I'm not saying there's a team that's going to win a Super Bowl, but it will be a respectful team in the NFC.
You
That's
talked
all
about
I'm
you talked about the Philadelphia Eagles schedule this year all year. Do you know how many playoff teams the New York Giants beat this year?
Gene, what I didn't even bring up the schedule yet, but I mean, y'all basically didn't
You're
play
talking about
nobody.
what Daniel Jones did.
We seen what
I'm telling you, he did it versus Chicago. I got it right in front of me. The Colts, the Commanders, lost to the Giants, lost to the Eagles and the Cowboys twice. Okay, the Texans, a formidable opponent right there. The Bears again. Here we go. The Panthers. That was a really good win. The Titans. These are great teams.
Hey, they beat the Vikings.
They beat the Vikings in the playoff.
Yeah.
Hey, all I'm saying is we won a playoff game, and when Philadelphia finally played a team in the Super Bowl, we seen what happened. Just saying.
So, are you saying when we played you, we didn't play a team?
I mean, y'all was better than us. I never did say the Giants was better.
So, is the only team in the NFL Kansas City? They're the only team.
That's the only thing.
That's played a team. It's only.
Hey, that's one of the teams that helped beat y'all.
Hey, you mentioned Kadarius Toney. He did look pretty good in Kansas City. Didn't look too great in New York, though.
Well, I mean, if you Patrick Mahomes, he'll make Gene look good.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, put Gene out there.
So, Freddie, so you call me. So, let me ask you a question, Freddie. So, you call me Mr. Bias, Skip, whatever you want to call me, but do you think Daniel Jones deserves that money he got today?
I mean, he had a good year this year.
Lamar deserves that contract.
15 touchdowns.
Even plus more.
Hey, if I'm being honest, I would rather have Daniel Jones than Lamar Jackson.
Oh, hell.
What?
Yo, put that shit on TikTok right now, yo. Come on.
I would.
TikTok worthy, man.
What take is worse? Jordan wanting Chris Paul's out of first ballot Hall of Fame, or saying that he'd rather have Daniel Jones over Lamar Jackson?
Listen, Jake, listen.
Daniel Jones is not mobile. Well, he is to extent.
And Chris Paul is the first ballot Hall of Fame.
Oh, we all agreed on that. That was just last week. We got into a hot take there.
But listen,
I never said that.
Let me explain why. Daniel Jones could run just like Lamar. He can throw the ball a lot better than Lamar.
You said Lamar, he can run the ball like Lamar? Hell no.
Yes, he can.
He tripped over his own feet.
He's like a faster Eli Manning.
But guess what? He's still a guy that depends on his legs just as good as Lamar. He can throw the ball way better than Lamar. He can throw the ball outside of the pocket better than Lamar. He can stay in the pocket better than Lamar. He's a better player than Lamar.
Is he?
Oh,
so Freddie,
I don't think so.
Freddie, let me ask you a question real quick. Who had more touchdown passes this year? Passes, not runs. Who had more touchdown passes this year? Lamar Jackson, who missed the last 6 games of the season, or Daniel Jones, who played every one?
Lamar Jackson also don't have a Saquon Barkley as well, besides running a bit of backfield as well.
Who's Lamar's best weapon?
Mark Andrews.
Like, outside of Mark Andrews.
I'm assuming Freddie's trying to say Saquon Barkley took touchdowns away from Daniel Jones. That's what I'm assuming where he's going.
He had 15 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Are you for real when you think he's a good quarterback?
The turnover reduction is good.
He's better than
on Daniel Jones. I will give Daniel Jones props for that. He cut down on his turnovers. That was a big problem that he had. He did improve there.
He's biased, man.
My opinion on Daniel Jones is.
So don't come on here on live TV. I'm biased and you're biased, man.
My opinion on Daniel Jones is, did he have a great season last season? Did he have a great season last season? I would say he had a pretty good season. I mean, 15-5, the 15 touchdowns is probably not something you want to see for a quarterback necessarily, but he did have 7 rushing, which is a plus with 700 yards. Is he worth $40 million? Oof. If you take this season out of the equation and you said Daniel Jones is asking for $40 million, everyone would have laughed. Everyone would have laughed. Exactly. It's hard to think that a dude who didn't get his fifth-year option picked up for a reason. He didn't get his option picked up for a reason. It wasn't because they didn't believe. Like, it wasn't because he was good. It's because he played bad. The Giants didn't think they wanted to keep him for another season, and then he started playing good.
Did to me 1 year, turned him around.
That's clearly what the Giants are.
Yeah, but is this the ceiling for Daniel Jones, though? Is this the very best we're going to get with him?
He's going to double it.
It better not be the ceiling.
Those numbers, he's going to double it next year. Watch.
Because watch, if you do go out and trade for a DeAndre Hopkins and you just get the same old Daniel Jones, it's like, wow, you have $40 million invested in this dude. You traded 2 picks away.
Hey, I'm predicting right now: 30 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 1,400 rushing yards next year. Book it.
1,400. Are you high, Freddie?
Rushing yards.
Are you high, my brother?
How much you want to bet? I'll take the under on that.
Have y'all watched the Boondocks?
Freddie, I would drive to Texas and kiss your ass in Macy's window if Daniel Jones rushes for 1,400 yards.
Are you serious, brother? Maybe like.
Are you out of your freaking mind?
Book it.
Oh my god,
bro! You write checks that your ass can't cash.
Book it.
You realize that's 82 yards.
He said hashtag.
You said a $100 on that, right? Freddie, $100 right now?
No, book
Hell
it.
no.
Well, you say book it, that means we should bet on it, right?
Well, we got to see what we got to do. I mean, we get
Jory
we
said,
get Michael Thomas. We don't know what we're gonna do.
She caught that reference. Uncle Ruckus from the Boondocks.
Said 1,400 rushing yards.
Who's the
He said cocaine bear. Holy shit.
That's the record, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
that's past the record for a quarterback. He said Daniel Jones is going to break it by 110 yards.
Daniel Jones, come on,
bro. I could see the 30 and 10. I really could if they get a number one wide receiver.
Stop there. Why the 1400?
Stop there. Why do we need to talk about 1,400 rushing yards?
If you could have said like 800 and like 8 touchdowns, and I'd have been like, you give him a pretty decent season. That's a pretty good evolution.
It's out there, but I could see it.
1,400.
Is Daniel Jones faster than Lamar? No, he's not.
82 yards a game rushing. That's what that averages out.
Faster than
Lamar. Freddie is literally saying Daniel Jones might be the NFL's leading rusher next season because our leading rusher literally had 1,500 to 1,600 yards.
Hey, Mr. Bristow, it's just like the Eagles.
Turf.
The Eagles didn't play nobody neither. We can only play us ahead of our schedule.
You better hope he's gonna get an ACL tear there because that terrible turf they got in Jersey, man.
Oh, he's not on Lamar Jackson.
Oh. Wait, what?
He's not Lamar Jackson.
I mean, Lamar didn't tear ACL. I'm saying,
but Lamar can't stay healthy.
Okay, well, we'll see about Daniel Jones.
Lamar didn't do his best for the team this year.
Jake, that was another thing that I heard you say, and I've listened to everything you said, Jake. You sound very intelligent. I love listening to you weekly on this show. You obviously know your stuff. You've been a great addition to the Big Three because I listen to the show weekly, even if I can't listen live. But you saying that it was a smart thing for Lamar Jackson to sit out the end of the year and quit on his teammates and then expect to go back to that team is I don't know how I can defend that. That is a wild statement. If he could have played and didn't play in the playoffs, like, you think any one of those teammates is going to respect him the way they did before?
Hey, Gene, wasn't there one game that he wasn't even at the game? Like, he
wasn't at the playoff game.
Yeah.
I mean,
he wasn't at the playoff game.
Is he the first player in NFL that has done that? I mean, he's rehabbing.
In a year, you're betting on yourself? Maybe.
I mean, if he what are they going to do? Go out and risk an ACL tear?
Lamar got pictures of you somewhere?
Of who, me?
Yeah, did Lamar have some like pretty bad pictures about you? You defend him like he's your wife.
I mean, shit, that's my MVP, man. What am I gonna do?
That's my MVP.
I think before Gene goes or whatever, like, there's another thing that you said that Freddie, that the Ravens didn't have interest in him at first round, and he was first round pick. So.
Oh, don't try to get the heat off you now. Don't try to get the heat off.
We didn't have interest in Lamar. That's not true because we had interest in Lamar.
Jordan, of course I had interest when you drafted him. That's a no-brainer, Dodo. What I'm talking about is that they did not believe in him. If they believed in him after that MVP season, after he won the playoff game, they would have paid him.
Also, just a quick fact here in regards to the draft with Lamar. I know we're kind of going backwards for that. if the Baltimore Ravens were in love with Lamar, they could have drafted him like 14th. They had like a pick in like the early teens in that draft where they picked a tight end, and then they ended up getting him with the last pick in the draft. So it's not like they were dying to get in the early part of the round. They got picked in with their second pick in the first round. So to say that have they always been head over heels in love with Lamar? I don't know. Felt like it was kind of a reach that worked out better than they expected, and they just never wanted to commit long term to a guy that they don't fully believe in his game.
I agree with that. I mean, I remember that draft fairly well. I mean, they did trade up with that last pick to get Lamar. Lamar was one of those quarterbacks you saw draft.
The Eagles gave it to us, right? In that draft, the Eagles got it because they had
maybe I don't remember. That was probably the year. That seems like the year.
Yeah, I think the Eagles.
Oh, he was saying the Eagles traded that pick to Baltimore for Lamar.
Yeah.
No.
Was that the year you guys won? Was it the Patriots year? But regardless, yeah.
No, because it was the year after the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
The Patriots trade that pick. Trust me.
Yeah, but I agree with everything Jake said. If they were in love with him, they would have drafted him right away. He would have been that guy. But trading up at the end of the first round, it seemed like, we have an opportunity here to take a guy that we somewhat like, a guy that we think could be good here. And maybe they never really had a massive plan to commit super long
the Eagles
term
in
to
return
him.
got
They've just kind of always been on the fence.
Round. Yeah, Eagles got it. The Eagles in return got picks 52 in that draft. Second round, 125 fourth, and the 2019 second round pick. Eagles got it. They traded their pick for.
I don't want to commandeer your show, gentlemen. I just needed to correct some inaccuracies. I'll talk to y'all later. I love you.
From who?
You good, Gene?
Gene, don't do that. Don't do that.
Hey, listen. I called them all three of them out,
and I rebutted all whatever.
Your rebuttal was wrong. Take a panel vote. You just said Daniel Jones is going to have 1,400 rushing yards. We can go on a debate show any day you want, and you can pick the audience, and I'd still vote for me.
Hey, he's going to have 1,400 booking.
And that's my point. Exactly.
And
Take care, gentlemen. I love listening to the show. I'm going to come back to you.
Double down on it, Freddie.
Hey, if he do that, he'll be the best quarterback in the NFC East.
Oh.
He left. I wanted him to hear that. Hey, y'all.
I'm sorry you heard it on the way out.
Hey, y'all, I'm about to roll out too.
Thanks, Freddie. See you, boss man.
Yes, sir.
God damn.
That was eventful.
That had to go on TikTok, man.
That was
interesting. I mean, after all that, there's still a quarterback we didn't talk about. Derek Carr.
My boy.
Terrible. Psych.
Took the Saints job, and I'm not mad at it. When I thought about where Derek Carr could go, I thought, Carolina or New Orleans would have been, not a bad spot for him, because with him signing there, he's clearly the best quarterback in that division.
Yep.
Now the Saints have some salary cap moves they need to make, but
what team is better at manipulating the salary cap than the Saints? And I hate how often the Saints have been in salary cap purgatory, but you can't tell me there's a better team that somehow finagles their way out of salary cap hell than the Saints. I like the signing. Do I love it? No. Do I love Derek Carr? No. But I like him. He's a good quarterback. He's definitely better than anything the Saints have had since Drew Brees. And even those last few Drew Brees years, look, Drew Brees is my boy. Like, he's my guy. But I can be a little unbiased here, Jordan, and say that those last few years with Drew Brees, there were some weaknesses. I could call out weaknesses for my guy. But it's a good signing. The contract, if you pull it up, it seems like it's a lot of money at the front. This first year, it's pretty low. Then it goes to about $35 a year the next 2 years. In 2026 is when there's the big hit, but all that can be removed with some dead cap money that's like $10 million. So it's not a huge cap hit. You really want to take advantage of a weak conference. The NFC South is the weakest conference in football. It was last year. It will be again this year. If you have the best quarterback in the league, in the conference, in the division, you have a good defense, you have good skill position players, you put yourself in a good chance to win to make the postseason. I'm curious what everyone else thinks, but I like it. It's good.
Well, for the salary cap issues that they have, is there any fear of guys that you might lose that, might be counterproductive in bringing Carr there if you had to lose, because isn't Davenport a free agent?
Yeah, he's probably going to be lost, and that sucks. I'm more worried about losing Kamara to the suspension, which is likely going to happen, and deservedly so. Like, I'm not going to try and defend his actions at all. I don't want to get that. It's just he's a really talented player, and it'll be a bummer when he's gone.
I know
Michael Thomas' salary cap hit is so high compared to his contract. Yeah, if he gets cut, I think it's like 26 million in dead money, and his salary is like 12 or 13 million. Like the disparity there with how the contract works is so that they're going to keep him there. Yeah, they're going to lose some players, but they're going to find some ways to do it. The Saints are very good. They're very good at drafting as well, finding cheap players to replace it. Chris Olave is a fantastic wide receiver. He's still very cheap in his second year. I think they're going to be the favorites to win the division until we see if, unless Lamar ends up going to Atlanta or Carolina, which I think would be smart if I was one of those teams that take advantage of a weak conference and get a top 10 quarterback. I'd do that if I was one of those teams. But right now I'm good with Derek Carr.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a smart move. I mean, when you look at the quarterback market, outside of Lamar, there wasn't really any, I would say, exceptional choices. I mean, you had your Daniel Jones, your Geno Smith. And so getting someone like Carr, all those guys, I don't want to say they're on the same tier in a sense, but they're all kind of roughly on that same tier. So getting any one of those guys was a plus. Derek Carr was a free agent. He was obviously one of the ones that was able to speak with people soon since he was released. It seemed evident. I thought he was going to go to the Saints. I thought the Jets were going to kind of be an Aaron Rodgers type of team, and it seems like that's the direction they might be going. And it seemed like it was just a matter of time that Carr Jones. But it only seemed like a matter of time before Derek Carr and the Saints just actually signed. How they'll make the money work, who knows? Like Jake said, the Saints always figure out how to make the money work. It looks like Jameis is going to be a part of the process as well, too. So he'll be looking to go on to a new team. It's interesting. Definitely they were a team that was kind of in a rough spot, I would say. No first-round pick, kind of an unclear thing with your quarterback, having cap issues, and you kind of have an answer for your quarterback, plus you have a first-round pick now. So it's like you have something you can do, plus your conference got really, really weaker. So you have a lot of time to just take over now. You don't have to be a great team. You just have to be good enough to win the division and then have the right game plans for the playoffs. So I think the Saints definitely bolstered themselves to be the favorites. I mean, obviously, it's a fairly weak conference. So, like Jake said, if the Falcons sign Lamar Jackson tomorrow, that instantly just changes the odds.
Sure.
But right now, the Saints are the favorite for sure right now.
Yeah, and just to point out, like, I'm not going to be a homer here, but the Saints, if Mark Ingram doesn't run out of bounds against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that game, that Monday night game or Sunday night, whatever it was, the Saints win that game, and then they're likely winning the division that year with this garbage, with the mess at quarterback that they had. Like, they're not that far off because that division is so bad. It's not going to work. The big thing I worry about is Dennis Allen. I don't love Dennis Allen as a coach. I didn't like the hire. I was really hoping that when they did the interviews, they would have hired Eric Bieniemy, but they didn't go for that. But yeah, I mean, until Carolina, Atlanta, or Tampa Bay gives me something to be worried about, I think the Saints are going to be set, and it was a smart move. It's, is it a lot of money for Carr? It is, but I think he's 31 years old. He's a good player. He's going to be a part of a team that actually believes in him. And the Saints have a good track record with this, where they take a quarterback, they sign him as a free agent. He's been kind of abandoned by his team. I mean, that's the same story with Drew Brees. No one believed in him. The Chargers didn't want him, and he resurrected the franchise. I'm not saying Derek Carr is going to pull off a Drew Brees, because Drew Brees is 1 in a million, but I don't think it's going to be bad. I don't think the Saints are going to take a step backwards this year.
I'm very interested to see what he does. I was going to say, it's very interesting to see what he does with like the weapons the Saints have for him, because it's like Chris Olave is definitely going to be a key piece in this all. Definitely his progression is really going to be something we have to look for, because, Derek Carr, I mean, his last season, for example, he had a Devontae Adams, he's had Hunter Renfrow, he's had these different weapons. So it's like you're going into this Saints system. It's like you have Michael Thomas, maybe, who knows what's really going to happen with him. I imagine, like Jake said, they're not going to cut him. They'll probably keep him. The dead cap is just too much to want to mess with. But will he play? Who knows? Michael Thomas really hasn't played a lot in these last couple of years, but you would hope he does. And if he does, if you can get a healthy Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, depends on what happens at that running back situation. Normally, the Saints are pretty good at just plugging in a good running back, just a running back in that system and making it work. I mean, they got Mark Ingram back, and he was an instant hit in that system. So
until that last play.
Yeah, until that last play. So I don't imagine they'll be hurting too much. Of course, not having Kamara's pass catching ability is going to be a massive downside. But there's tons of good running backs, and the running back position is very flexible. It isn't as keen of a position as it's been before. Any plethora of free agents could have a good 4, 5, 6 weeks in that Saints system. So just a matter of what they want to do there. But yeah, I definitely have them as the favorite until anyone else makes a move.
Yeah. It was crazy in that division that every team in that division, not the Bucs since the Bucs won it, could look at one play that change the whole outcome of that. Because if you look at, the Falcons, that Bucs game with the controversial roughing the passer call, you take that away, they probably win the division. As Jake said with the Saints, Ingram stays in bounds, they probably win it. The Panthers
DJ
can
Moore,
look at,
if he doesn't rip off his helmet.
Yeah,
that was so stupid.
Yeah.
For a division that was so awful, for it to be that close for any one of those teams to win it, I mean,
and it somehow just went to Tom Brady. It just somehow went to Tom Brady because the league's scripted, right, fellas? It's all scripted.
That's what I said.
Did you see what he said about people thinking about him unretiring? He was like,
something about a cat, right?
Yeah, he said anyone who thinks I'm going to unretire has never given their daughter a 2-month-old kitten. And I was like, fair enough.
I mean, I don't see him coming back.
Where was he the rest of the time he was married? I mean, come on, like the cat's gonna be the one that keeps him from coming back, but not having like a newborn. Come on, Tom.
He's like, my 3 kids, a kitten. I gotta stay home for that.
Right. There's actually still a couple of quarterbacks we didn't talk about. So now with everything kind of going on, there's gonna be a wonder about Jimmy Garoppolo. So where do you think he ends up? I feel like there's probably an obvious spot for him, but I want to see what you guys say.
I say the Raiders. I say the Raiders.
Okay, Raiders.
Yeah, it seems like the Raiders would probably be the favorite.
And plus, did you hear that? I mean, I don't think it should happen, but with the whole Henry Ruggs, they can't find a judge. So if they can't find a judge in time, there's that whole But I'm not sure he'll ever play in the NFL ever again. But the judge that kind of decides that
Ruggs isn't coming back.
I don't see that happening.
He did a million things wrong.
Well, I'm saying the Raiders, there's the judge that can't find a judge for the new whatever case.
They'll make it work.
Yeah,
and if
they'll make it work.
He ain't coming back. That was terrible what happened.
Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah.
I guess I'd have to say the Raiders. That seems like a Raiders. I don't think they should do it. I don't think they should do it. I think the Raiders should do whatever they can to get Levis, Richardson. If you can get Stroud or Young, get any one of the quarterbacks. Just draft one. You have Devontae Adams. That's literally one of the best progression systems you can give a young quarterback. Is literally one of the best receivers in the league. So please draft one.
Also, Jordan, you said who? I think it's the Raiders because of his connection to Josh McDaniels. I do think they draft one anyway because Garoppolo's another guy who doesn't necessarily make it through a season. So
he's injury prone too.
You would need a backup. They still have Stidham, but I mean, we know.
Come on. That they
he's great for the Patriots.
Didn't they tag Josh Jacobs too, right?
Yeah,
they tagged the
tar. They might need a running back.
Any position. Running back
I guess that was smart.
I can see them getting Jimmy G and then getting Bijan Robinson, but I don't know what draft pick they got.
They're not going to take Robinson. I don't see that going. They have too many other needs on that team because Robinson's going to be first round.
Yeah, it's already came out that Josh Jacobs. Well, no, Jacobs got tagged. He got the exclusive tag, so he isn't going anywhere. So he's there for the season. But it's also came out that Jacobs and the Raiders are pretty confident they can get a deal done before June.
Yep. Dylan, what are your thoughts on your guy getting re-signed?
Gino? I'm glad about the 3 years. $35 million. A little iffy on that. I have a lot of questions when it comes to Geno. You know, this was his first year as a starter in the Seahawks system. He was a Pro Bowler, did well, took us to the playoffs. But how much of that is actually Geno being good, or just you just had a good season? It's always very smoke and mirrors with things like that. My biggest attack on Geno is he's very great when it comes to being accurate, and he has very decent pocket pressure. But when it comes to Seattle being down at any point in time, I don't watch games as a Seahawks fan, and when I see Geno Smith, like when we're down 10, I get very nervous, like a lot more than what I would with Russell Wilson, because Seattle's kind of had that identity just over the years with Russell Wilson is like, I've said this so many times, Seattle plays games that make you just want to shit yourself because like you could be down 20 points and then, here's Russell Wilson, Seattle's coming back in the fourth quarter, we win the game. And I don't really kind of have that same feel when it comes to Geno Smith. There's been a lot of times where we've had a chance to win a game and he's just thrown a bad pass, he's fumbled, he's just not made the right read, and it seems to be fairly consistent. So I guess what I want to see is Geno be able to like kind of be a little bit clutch, and that's not something I've seen from him. I think we're in a really good position. I think, if we can get Geno to play as well as he did this year or even better, we have 2 first-round picks, tons of picks in this, like the first 100. I think we have 5 to be exact. So Seattle's going to be able to make some moves. If we can get a healthy Jamal Adams back that's able to play, that's a plus. There's been rumblings that Seattle might re-sign Bobby Wagner again. That would be a plus, especially since we wouldn't have Jordan Brooks for the season, or at least half of the season, because he tore his ACL in the last couple of games. So, man, if Geno can play well, like Seattle definitely has a chance to have I would say a pretty quarterback-friendly contract. So, like I said, only 3 years, 105. So he's only taken $35 million of the cap space. I tried looking up the breakdown of his contract, how much he gets per year, but it doesn't seem like anything like that. That is out yet for his contract, or at least what I could find.
It's too new.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything like that on it. But overall, I mean, I'm excited. It was really that or draft a quarterback, and it seems like, even though Seattle came out today and was like, we would still consider drafting a quarterback at 5. I don't imagine they will.
Who's their back?
I can see
3 years is the key there with this deal, because 35. If he's a good quarterback and 35, you're at a bargain compared to what the top tier quarterbacks are making. 3 years, it allows you to get out a lot sooner than if you did a 4 or 5 year deal.
But if something happens, like he gets hurt, like you trust Drew Lock.
You have to ask that for all 32 teams.
I'm sorry, I don't have Jordan. I don't have a Pro Bowl backup quarterback. I'm sorry.
I can see them going out there like Anthony Richardson, if he can be under Geno Smith.
And Anthony Richardson is one of those names that's the only quarterback name that's been linked with Seattle has been Anthony Richardson, and that's not something I'm against. I know Gene was kind of getting on me for hyping up Richardson, but overall, I think that would be definitely a Pete Carroll-like project. He likes kind of them athletic guys. He's had his DK Wilson. Metcalfs. Just those type of guys that felt like a big athletic mold. There's something about him that Pete Carroll's like, give me that guy. Like, we're going to mold him into a Seahawks player. So I could see something like that happening. Would I necessarily want that? No. I think I'm a bigger fan of having Caleb Williams be on Seattle if we were going to take a quarterback and rather wait a year than Anthony Richardson. But overall, I'd rather use our picks to kind of, put us more in a win now state. I don't think drafting a backup quarterback is what we really need.
Your defense
especially
needs help.
Yep. Definitely. We need a lot of defensive help and inside O-line help, and it's a pretty deep class for both of those. And if Seattle just needs to take up their needs, like if we can make it to the playoffs with the team that we had last year. Let's get everyone back. Let's get everyone healthy. Let's maybe bring back Bobby Wagner. Let's draft our 2 biggest needs and then fill it up with the tons of other draft picks we got and try it again. The Rams aren't going to be any better. The 49ers, they could take a dip. They definitely could take a dip, not knowing what's going to go on with their quarterback situation for sure. And then you have who else? The Cardinals. So Seattle,
the Cardinals.
Yeah. So Seattle could definitely be primed to make some moves and solidify just being top of the NFC West again if they play it smart. That depends on what the 49ers do as well. But if they can draft smart and Geno can play very well, we have ourselves a good contract for a quarterback, and plus we're primed to make some good moves in the next couple of years. If there's even like a big name star who wants out, Seattle is one of those teams that are always going to be in play because they have the capital to do so.
Yep.
So I just want to ask the panel this. Let's get real here. So, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, where will Lamar land? Final picks.
That's what's coming.
I knew it was coming, man. I guess you know me, man. I guess you know my brain now.
The minute you said, I want to ask the panel, I knew you were going to a podcast question.
No, but it's a question because now we're getting to that saga now.
Yes,
it's not Baltimore.
It's
not Baltimore.
Yeah.
Look, I'm too cheap to bet. I don't gamble. My cousin keeps telling me to gamble because it's legal where I'm at. I'm too cheap. But if I were to bet, it would be that he's not on Baltimore. I think Atlanta makes a ton of sense. He's there again, weak division, loaded roster. They draft fairly well, so they could lose 2 first-round draft picks and then make a run for it in the NFC. I think he's probably going to go to the NFC, and I just feel like too much damage has been done between both sides that they don't want to go back to each other. We're just watching this divorce play out, and they're going to couples therapy, marriage counseling, and neither of them wants to be there. Well, what happens when a couple is in marriage counseling and neither of them wants to be there? They're going to lie to the therapist. They're going to say what needs to be said to make themselves look good. But then when they get back home, they're just going to argue and fight, and they're going to get divorced 6 months later.
We're going to see it. See, I got a problem with that narrative because
Lamar gets to take Rashad Bateman.
See, I have a problem. I mean, Jake, you're I know you, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and I respect that. But that's the narrative I see on Twitter. It's okay, this marriage, this bridge. Unless the Ravens are lying to us to our faces, I mean, I don't think the Ravens don't.
Teams have lied to fans before.
So this is what I'm going to say about this. Why would the Ravens come out and say things with Lamar Jackson are going bad? Why would they ever come out and say that? Why would they ever be like, we don't want to re-sign Lamar? If they're going to say whatever they want to say, they're going to say things are going good. We're 100% committed to Lamar until they're not. Until they have a team ready to sign him, ready to give them 2 first-round picks. And then they're like, well, we were committed to Lamar. We're not committed to him anymore. We're committed to whoever's going to be this next quarterback. So they're going to say whatever they want because the last thing Ravens fans probably want to hear is that, hey, we're out on Lamar. We don't know what we're doing with our franchise. Who's our quarterback next year? Best to just wait and find out. Well, they're going to keep the idea that they have stability until they don't have the stability.
Also, that's a great point, Dylan. But the other thing to go along with that is if Baltimore says, we don't want him, we're done with Lamar, even with this exclusive franchise tag, teams are going to lowball. They're just, it's not going to work out. They're not going to get anything in return. You have to play. This is a game that they're playing. You have to play your cards right, and you have to make Lamar sound desirable and attainable. I mean, that you have to give it the sense no, we want him. You have to you have to pony up for this guy because if you offer him $10 million, we'll just match it. Because if they say we don't want him, then the Falcons are like, cool, we'll offer you $15 million a year because we know that or some ridiculously low number, maybe it's $30 million a year. Baltimore doesn't want him. They want to hurt other teams. They want to make other teams suffer if he goes there.
So exactly. on either tag, can the Ravens still get a deal done, or is this
So basically, with this deal, with this tag, yes. So with this tag, so let's say the Falcons go out tomorrow and give Lamar Jackson this 5-year, fully guaranteed contract. Mm-hmm. The Ravens have the opportunity to match that, and if they choose to match it, Lamar will have that same contract that the Ravens offered him. But the Falcons offered him, but he'll play for the Ravens. They have an opportunity to match any contract.
So it feels like 5 years, Deshaun Watson.
And that exclusive franchise tag goes away. It's
exactly.
Gone. It's gone.
Exactly. But if the Ravens choose to deny that, then
can they do a counter? Can they do a counter? Or is it
no.
The deal?
No.
So Jordan, do you know how restricted free agency works in the NBA? It's the same deal where your first round in the NBA, you go out there. Yeah, you go out there DeAndre Ayton is a great point. He was a restricted free agent. I think it was the Pacers were the team that offered him a big contract. And Phoenix was like, you know what? We want you here. And it did some damage. There was a lot of love lost there because they didn't sign him when they should have. Mm-hmm. I just don't. If Freddie made the best point, if Baltimore loved Lamar, if they wanted him to be their quarterback for the future, this deal would have been signed 2 years ago.
I mean, I feel like that was the best.
Or they don't have the exclusive tag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the exclusive tag, and they're just like, we'll deal with this another year. We'll work it out. They don't want him.
That the Raiders put Josh Jacobs on the exclusive tag because they're like, talks are going well. We're pretty close. We don't want him talking to anybody else.
But
could have done the same thing.
Like just like with like Raquan Smith, it's a different position. You know what I'm saying? Running back.
Agreed. But also Raquan, they didn't use a franchise tag for Raquan Smith. They signed him straight up because Raquan Smith wanted to be with the Ravens. They were able to make out a deal.
Yeah. I mean, it was either sign Lamar or tag Raquan or vice versa. So it's like
they could have done both if they wanted to. They
I just think
they valued Raquan Smith.
And you also have to look at this.
Wasn't going to be hard to reach.
And the Ravens, if they draft a quarterback, the Ravens draft a quarterback, they have that 5th-year option. They'll have such a cheap contract. If they think, again, we keep saying Anthony, it could be a plethora of one of these 4 quarterbacks, but we keep saying Anthony Richardson because he kind of fits that mold. They look at Anthony Richardson and they go, wow, we could kind of put him in this system for a lot cheaper money, put other things around him to kind of build more of the mold of the quarterback he is. And plus we have him for 5 years of control. Like, why wouldn't they maybe want to go down that route, especially if they could save themselves $50 million a year?
Yeah, there's
about $30 million a year on a quarterback.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate about what's smart for a franchise to do. There's a debate for, do you go after the quarterback, you get him, you pay him the big money, and you try and win, or do you try and win with a quarterback that's got a cheap contract? We saw Russell Wilson do that with Seattle. We saw Jalen Hurts get really close this year with Philadelphia. There's a debate, and both sides you can make the argument can work. And Baltimore's probably really thinking, hey, you know what? Let's reset, get 2 first-round picks for Lamar. Doesn't matter where they're at, first-round draft pick, get a quarterback, get 5 years on a cheap deal, and kind of refigure everything out with the new offensive coordinator. I know he's your guy, and I respect that. And look, if you 10 years ago, if Drew Brees was going to leave the Saints, I'd be heartbroken. I'd be crushed. But I'm just
saying, like, I'm just saying anything can happen. Now, really, okay. I mean, they can naturally, they could let it go, 2 first-round picks. But now I think that so I heard that it's like they get 5 days to match, and then I think they have it until like July 15th to like get a new deal done or something like that. I heard.
Like, if they match a contract, then the deal's already done.
Yeah,
they can't change whatever contract they're matching, so that they wouldn't have to wait till, I guess, July or whatever.
I guess the last thing before we probably go to our NBA stuff is just like, look at it in this way. I always hate using my teams as an example because I don't like to boast, but look what Seattle did with Russell Wilson. They looked at Russell Wilson, they looked at the team, they looked at the timeline and went, I don't think we can win with this team. I don't think Russell Wilson is happy here. I don't think we're really going to do much, probably outside of make a playoff game and lose. Maybe get second in the NFC West. They traded him. They believed in Geno, and now they're at a position where they have, like I said, 5 picks in the top 100, plus they have another 2 picks in the top 100, again, from Denver. And now they're in a prime position if they have a quarterback like Geno, or in your guys' case, if you draft a quarterback or get a veteran quarterback, whatever the case may be, you now have a bunch of capital. You now have the cap space because, like on Seattle, Geno's on a QB-ish friendly deal. Like, this could work really well for you. The concept of losing Lamar would probably suck, but the upside of you being able to draft a quarterback who's going to be way cheaper and you can fill out your defense more, some of the holes you need, maybe at corner, or just fill out your offensive more, get better weapons, or even like get other weapons that will work with a different type of quarterback. You've got a new OC. Maybe he knows what to do.
I guess the question is what team is willing to give up their first-round picks to get.
It only takes one.
It only takes one.
The Panthers
have 9. The Panthers have 9. Atlanta has 8. The Raiders have 7. Like, you're getting a top 10 pick probably.
Well, here's the other thing too, Dylan, is don't be surprised if he remains on this franchise, this non-exclusive franchise tag till after the draft, and then teams are like, hey, you know what? Atlanta's like. Yeah, and Atlanta's like, let's wait a year. Let's wait till after the draft. You get our it'd be the 2024, 2025 first-round pick. Cool. It's going to be like 25th, 24th because we're going to be winning, and you keep your top 10 pick this year. Like, you're not going to see a lot of movement until after the draft. So don't be thinking in a week from now that he's safe.
Well, he can talk to teams. I think Monday. I think.
Yeah, but we're not going to.
It all just depends. It all depends, and these days are going to really be crucial because you would think like On the Ravens standpoint, they would probably want Lamar to sign somewhere before the draft. They would probably want to see if they can get one of this year's picks rather than trying to do something. And on the Lamar and on these other team standpoints, they might want to try to wait and see what that market's like. But again, it's going to depend what Lamar wants as well too. It's going to be interesting to see if he takes any meetings soon. If he's going to go meet with anybody or if he's going to talk with anyone. I don't imagine anything like that will probably be leaked or come out until the open period, which is the 15th or whatever day that is. But it's going to be interesting to see who he meets with because, of course, all these teams are out. But I assume next week we're going to be hearing reports that he's meeting with the Falcons, he's meeting with the Panthers, he's meeting with the Commanders, he's meeting with all these teams. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, the draft isn't until April, so they're going to be talking to Lamar for a little bit. So it's going to be interesting to see what gets done.
He may even meet with teams that aren't even all that interested, but just to try to strike up something.
Yeah, strike up demand.
Yeah, he might be like.
So basically, the Ravens can get a plethora of contracts. I'm sure Lamar's gonna,
They get 2 picks.
Two picks.
No. I'm saying as far as
how the tag's gonna work? No matter what, like the Ravens can't see all the contract offers and go, we want to accept that one. No. Yeah, so how it works is Lamar will accept the team he wants to go to. So if Lamar gets 12 offers and he goes, the Falcons are the best one, I want to go to the Falcons. The Ravens have 5 days to match that Falcons offer. And if they choose not to, he goes to the Falcons. But if they choose to, he goes to he goes back to the Ravens. If he goes to the Falcons, you guys get 2 first-round picks.
And that's it.
So they can, wherever Lamar, just has to go, he can go back to the Ravens and be like, oh, this team got me this, gonna pay me this.
The same thing when he goes to meet with these teams, he could tell them, this is what Baltimore is offering me. The team may say, come back to us after the draft. We want to see, what moves we make and whether we could fit you in or not. We are interested, but just sit tight. This is going to be a long story. It's whether or not he's okay with that.
It's going to be a long story.
Okay with it.
Because if you're Atlanta at number 8, like you'd be like, man, we really need to draft a defensive piece, and then we can get Lamar Jackson. Like, let's fill that big gap and get like Jalen Carter, like a cornerback, and then be like, now let's go after Lamar. We got the biggest piece we needed filled. Okay.
Yeah. And Lamar probably wants to see what these teams do. How they've.
He has a right to test the market, you know what I'm saying? So let's see what his floor is, you know what I'm saying?
He's gonna test it all right. Okay. It's gone. But anyway, there was one last quarterback, just quickly before we go to NBA. Just name a team. We don't have to really get into it. Mr. Zero Dark 30, Aaron Rodgers. Where does he go?
Man.
Jets. He's going to the Jets.
Jets.
He's following his dad's footsteps. Just like old Brett Favre.
I know they're going to be even more crowded at MetLife, man, if he comes here because people love the Aaron Rodgers.
That's until week 6 and the fans turn on him. Jets fans
like their GM is like it's so funny. Like I watched a lot of the combine interviews and stuff because I'm really trying to get into this draft stuff this year since I'm going to be planning on going to it. And it was like listening to the Packers press conference was so funny because their GM was basically like, man, we don't know what our plan for anything is because Aaron Rodgers won't talk to us. And please talk to us so we know what we could do for our future. And it's so funny. Like, it's good that we finally got some news that he's meeting with someone, and that be the Jets. Yeah. I think it's just writing on the walls that he goes to the Jets. I think the Packers should want to be done with him.
Yes.
Give Jordan Love the chance. You spent a first-round pick on him. I imagine if you trade him to the Jets, you'll have the 13th and the 15th pick in the draft. You can fill up massive holes.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll get another pick after that too. You'll get the Jets 2024 pick and plus whatever second round pick I imagine they have for the next 2 years as well too. So they could definitely come out of this looking good with a first round quarterback and Jordan Love. How he'll do will be a question mark, but you definitely could reload that offense or give him a defensive piece. And I think the Jets should be the team he goes to. Or the team he will probably go to. I think the Jets are probably really desperate enough. I think they truly believe that we're a quarterback away of probably being a contender. And Aaron Rodgers,
and they are.
And Aaron Rodgers is definitely that quarterback. That would be good. I mean, you're going to get Breece Hall, who looked crazy good back. You had Garrett Wilson, who sadly won Offensive Rookie of the Year, even though Kenneth Walker had more first-place votes. All I'm saying. But sadly got Offensive Rookie of the Year. You got a great defense. Robert Saleh isn't the greatest offensive coach, so why not bring in the dude who calls in his own plays anyways? Aaron Rodgers.
I'll say this, like Dylan, you said it perfectly. I know we need to get onto the NBA stuff. I'll just add in Green Bay's done with him. Like everyone I've talked to that's a Packer fan, they're done with Aaron Rodgers. They want to move on. It's not even that they're big Jordan Love fans. It's just they're tired of his garbage.
Exactly.
And they're ready to see something new. Last year was painful. Remember, Aaron Rodgers didn't have a game where he threw over 300 yards all year last year, and just one game with 3 touchdowns or more. Very un-Rodgers like the cliff is coming, and I think it'd be smart for the Packers to move on.
And Matt Judon will sack him twice a game when they face him, and I'm gonna love every second of it because I can't.
I'm not a Patriots fan, but I'll love to see it too. I love to see him get his ass kicked.
It's gonna be great. All right, let's go NBA.
Let's do it.
I had topics. There's only one topic we need to talk about. Ja Morant. I'm just gonna open it up. Who wants to start? Like, this whole story is wild, and I guess we'll start with this. We know that the team told him kind of stay away for a couple of games. Do you think it extends beyond that? Because I think it's like at least 2 games or something. You think it goes beyond that?
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be one of those things where he's probably going to be out for a couple of weeks. How long that timetable is, I wouldn't expect it to be over a month. They are getting to the thick of playoff time. They are the 2nd seed. I guess that really depends on if the NBA plans on doing anything. I guess that's really kind of the biggest thing. If the NBA chooses to suspend him for a specific amount of time, and then that question really kind of isn't something for us to answer. But if the NBA decides to not, then I wouldn't expect anything over a month. But with the Grizzlies being the 2nd seed in the West, I think they're still the 2nd seed right now. It's too risky for him to be longer
holding
than
on
that.
to that by a thread. But yeah. Okay. I mean, Jordan, what are your thoughts on the whole Morant thing? I know we talked about it on your, but
Yeah, I mean, you already know how I feel about it, man. It's just, I don't know what John's thinking. I don't know, man.
Well, I didn't hear what you had to say, so let me know what your thoughts are.
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you said on your show.
I'm
for real.
Oh, you got it. Oh no. Oh yeah, I know. So it's like I think it happened. I think in 2021, the whole him pulling the gun or had the gun on his hip. I think last year, January, I believe, where the whole incident happened with the little 17-year-old. So, I mean, my thoughts on it is just like, why, if you know that your name's being tied into a investigative case where they're investigating you, why would you go to a club during the season at 1, pull out a gun on live Instagram Live, knowing that you have a gun kind of situation? I mean, thank God he didn't pull the trigger, but still he had it on his hip. So it kind of for me, it's like he's mocking the situation. It's like, oh yeah, I got a gun, yeah, I had that, I did that. Hood, yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? That's just how I feel about it. It's just like, and like Kyle said, like, I mean, and like, you know, he has a kid, he has a daughter, he's had a family. I mean, he has I don't know how wealthy his dad is, but he has a dad. I mean, most guys don't have a dad or, a mom or a family to support, and John's gonna ruin that just because, like, he's trying to act hood. Like, you're making millions and like you're trying to steep to a lower level than what you're supposed to be at. And I mean, I like Ja. He's talented. He went number 2 behind Zion. And I know I talked about this on my show, but I don't know, Dylan, you're from Kansas, right? You lived in Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Murray, he came from Murray State. So I don't know how hood that.
That's North Carolina.
Oh, that's North Carolina. I thought that was
Murray State's in North Carolina.
I thought that was Kentucky or something like that. My geography is. Well, hey.
So Jordan, I'll say real quick, as far as for everything I've read, is that Ja came from like the suburbs. Like he went to a private school, went to a good area. He didn't come from the hood. He didn't come from the projects.
Yeah, no, he was playing in great AAU tournaments with like Zion Williamson.
Yep.
Like, that's...
Right. So like, I don't know what. Just like he said in the chat like the other day, like maybe T, whatever I think his name is T Morant. He has to,
T Morant. Yep.
Maybe he has talked to Ja. I'm pretty sure that's his dad, but like the Memphis, they're a young team. They don't have, other than Adams as a veteran. I mean, they're young. I mean, Morant has nobody in his ear. You know what I'm saying? They're all young. I mean, the only level-headed one is probably Bane. He's kind of down to earth, I guess. Jaren Jackson a little, maybe, but they're young. But it's not looking good for Ja. And now I think where he was at, I think Colorado, their bureau was looking at the whole gun incident and stuff.
Yeah, Colorado's looking into him.
Yeah, like, he took a gun on a plane. Like,
well, is that true, or is that
so the reports are the reports are that he was at the club with the gun, which means that he had it on the plane and at a practice facility.
So that determines if he should get a 50 game ban.
So that's the thing is, I think everybody remembers, I don't know how everyone else is tuned in, but I was, plugged in the NBA pretty good when Gilbert Arenas got suspended in 2009, 2010. Now there was also a little more violence with that, more teammates, but it was for the rest of the year. Ended up being 50 games and the league was very clear: you do not take firearms onto league property, and that's practice facilities, that's arenas, that's airplanes. And if he did that, it sucks because Memphis is a great story. This is a smaller market team. They built a fantastic team through the draft, a fantastic team through the draft, and they're doing everything right. And their best player, who I don't know if it was this year, but I know last year, like he was like one of the top in jersey sales. As far as for the youth, he's like the most loved youth guard for all the young players. Like they all look up to him, kind of like how everybody of probably like Kyle and I's generation looked up to Allen Iverson. Has how great and flashy he was. Not trying to compare any like the off the court stuff, but like people gravitate towards Ja Morant, and he's making these terrible decisions. I read that Steven Adams held a players only meeting the night before, or the game before the incident happened, and said, "Hey, look, guys, we can't be horsing around. We got to take things seriously." And then Ja went out and still did his garbage. Like. It sucks. It's sad. I want to see him get the help that he needs. He obviously, I don't want to say obviously, but it's more than likely that he has some mental issues going on. He doesn't have good coping skills for anxiety, stresses, and everything that comes along with being in the league. He needs to get a better circle of friends because there are reports that against like the Pacers, his buddies were like, they had like the laser points on guns at the team bus, and all this is just garbage. It's just distracting for the team, and it makes it like, I remember 2 years ago, I think it was, the Jazz played the Grizzlies in the first round. It was first year in the play-in, and the Jazz won in 5 games. I'm like, man, Memphis is a team that I could get. They could kind of be another team I root for when the Jazz fall apart. Now they're a really hard team to root for. They're not that likable.
Dylan Brooks that can hood.
You have all the dirty players. You have Ja Morant doing all of his garbage. Like it's awful.
He's not really a dirty player. I think Dylan Brooks is. I mean, Ja Morant was just playing basketball. I mean,
there's a lot of dirty players.
Situation now on top of that,
it makes it difficult. And I think Adam Silver is a players commissioner. David Stern was definitely not. But I don't see a way with. There's probably like 20-ish games left in the season. There's no way he's coming back this regular season.
Yeah.
If you're taking a gun onto a plane and on top of everything else, all the other 2 investigations involving a gun and like bullying a teenage kid, like there's no way. Like they have to set him down and be like, look, get the help you need and come back in October. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he's coming back this year.
Yeah. So what am I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. So Ja Morant, like it's like. Oh, now I know what I'm gonna say. So me, I mean, I'm gonna say this on live too because me being an African American on this show, it hurts because I mean, there's people that want to be in Ja Morant's position, going to the NBA, making millions, and that's their dream. And he has all he has been given what he has. Like he's making millions, and he's gonna waste it on some thug life. Like
no, it's terrible because like for
like,
you make a great
the image of a black person. It's like, come on now, like we're already like at the QB position in the NFL at slim. NBA, I mean, okay, it's better with the African American population than NBA as far as players. But come on, like we are looked at already so closely on the spectrum as far as just how we carry ourselves as African American men, and you want to just portray that, have that stereotypical mindset that people kind of have in your brain, but pulling a gun, like come on, bro. Like,
no,
it's just like
it's terrible. Like you make a wonderful point, Jordan. And I'm obviously not going to speak for you because I can't, but I'll just say that Ja Morant, he has a $230 some odd million contract. Like it's $250 million. Like that's generational wealth for someone that's amazing that he can do that. He has a shoe deal, an exclusive shoe deal, an exclusive deal with Adidas. He's one of the faces of the league. Like everybody loves
Nike.
I think it's with Nike.
Yep.
Everybody loves Ja Morant. Everybody loves him. Like before all this stuff happened, like it was really hard to find somebody that had anything bad to say about him, and to see him turn it around. It's like if you're an actual gangster, if you're from the hood, you don't want to portray yourself like you're doing these things. You want to try and get out of that situation. He was never in it, and maybe it's a complex where he's trying to prove that he's tough. Look, he's tough. I see him go up and dunk against dudes that are like twice his size. Like no one's gonna.
You're 6'2". You're dunking on a 7'2" guy. Like
no one's thinking that Ja Morant is soft or anything. Right. And so that's why I think I want him to get some mental help, get some counseling, get some coping mechanisms. But it sucks because like obviously none of the four of us are going to think that, but we know that there's certain populations of the white community that are going to look at that and they're going to say, man, the NBA is full of thugs. Full of wannabe gangsters and thugs, and it's not a look that anybody wants to see. And it sucks and it's sad. And I hope I wasn't speaking out of place, but that's how I feel. And Jordan, you made a fantastic point.
No, you're not speaking out of place. I mean, you're right. Our teams allowed to? I'm pretty sure teams are not allowed to have alcohol on the plane either. I saw a Twitter video of him drinking Casamigos on the plane.
That doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure that rule doesn't.
I've
heard so many stories about NBA players drinking on like team planes and stuff like that. So
all right, well, that's fine.
That part nobody cares. I don't understand.
You're gonna tell me J.R. Smith was sober on every single plane trip?
Chill.
Well, it's like
shirt off.
What was the need to have a gun on a team plane or in the team facility? Like,
they didn't have.
Those are people that like you don't need it there. What's the whole point of that? I just think this whole thing breaks down to.
And how did they get into the club anyway? Because don't they have like metal detectors?
Probably
not everyone. Not necessarily.
He's Ja Morant.
You don't pat him down though.
Come to the back. Come to the back.
Yep.
He probably had a hookup with the club owner or something.
Yeah, he's not waiting in line or any of that stuff.
The security is literally just opening up the door for him and being like, "Mr. Morant, come in."
Was it in Memphis or where was it? The club.
It was in Denver, right?
Maybe he has ties in Denver.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
It was probably wherever
Colorado
it was home or away, probably wherever they're coming.
But the other thing too that the Kyle kind of alluded, like also this isn't like a cell phone like TMZ report of a off angle thing. This is something that he did himself.
Yeah,
and that's the part
like he was on Instagram Live.
Yeah, it's not like TMZ reporting that Ja Morant is holding a weird black object that could be a gun at a nightclub. He went on Instagram Live and brandished a gun. Like it's just stupidity, and it's sad. It's really sad.
I don't want to just speak on it this too much because I'm just going to basically say part of the same things. But this is like a rough situation. Like if my dad was in the chat, he would agree with this. I was the biggest Ja Morant fan before he even got drafted. Like watching him in the NCAA tournament and drop a triple-double was some of the most wildest stuff ever. Like I literally remember working a film festival for like my school for like an extra credit project and like sitting and just hiding just so I could watch Ja Morant drop a triple-double in like the semifinals of the NCAA tournament. And everything Jake said about the Grizzlies is 100% true. The Grizzlies kind of had that when Ja Morant was starting to get good, this team was starting to form and start playing really well. They were getting the identity of being like one of the most likable teams. Like Ja was so fun to watch. Like him dancing with his daughter, him doing his stuff with his dad. Like everyone loved that. And then it just slowly became like the Grizzlies, the more they started winning, the more they got cockier, the more they had this attitude, and people just started not to like it. Because it's like, instead of playing into what made you guys popular and famous, you're doing everything to not. And that's what's just making you guys very hated. Like, I really think Ja Morant was definitely going to on pace to become like the most liked guard in the league. I wouldn't say skill set wise, obviously, but when it just comes to popularity and probably even just talent, like people like big dunks, people like explosive things. That's why we have a dunk contest every year, is because we want to see people do crazy things like that. And Ja Morant did it. Yeah. And now that he's kind of playing against that personality, it's like the crazier thing about it as well, it's like we all know Ja Morant's life. It's like we know you're not like that when it comes to the gang stuff, so it's like why it's now like, but also it's just like, man, I wish he just had better people around him, I guess, sooner, just to tell him like, people love you, the NBA loved you, like your team was the most like loved, and you kind of let that go away. And that's what gets me the most, is just like, man, it's so hard to think like Jake said, top 2 in jersey sales, like the number 1 most liked youth guard, and just for that to all go away, for what?
So this is the thing about. I don't know if Kyle we can get to me after I say this, but this is how I think about it. It's like the way the Ja Morant situation. Is how I think. This came up to me. It's like you have a best friend, right? Who you trusted, you liked, you thought you can vent to and talk to, and then he just that Ja Morant is a guy that just switches up on you. Like, it's not the guy who expects you to, like, damn, I didn't know you're gonna do that. Like,
it's a little surprising. Yeah,
like, you're a good kid. You're a good kid.
I see what you mean. It definitely his change, like all of his actions kind of just like caught everybody off guard. And then it just kind of came like, that's all he was doing. And then it became what we kind of expected out of him. But it all happened like very, very fast.
Like I've never seen before.
It's like when we talk about Ja Morant and kind of just like the Grizzlies, it's not like this was something stemming after like 4 or 5 years of like build up. It's like this happened in like a year and a half. So it's like, whatever happened and whatever people were around him in that year and a half time definitely just kind of changed his old ideals. Stuff could have happened before that, but even like still.
Well, yeah, I mean, crazy. He won most improved player last year.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure. And like usually that goes to someone, like everybody loved Ja Morant. Everybody knew he was a great player, and he still won most improved player because of the leap that he made. Like, all of this is super new. Super new.
Rookie of the year over Zion Williamson. Granted, he was injured, but like still.
But he deserved it.
Who expected the point guard coming out of Murray State? Like, name how many great Murray State NBA players there are out there. And that's not even a dig at the college or anything like that. It's just saying that Ja Morant's story was so special that he was literally beating, like, Zion Williamson was probably one of the most touted recruits or most touted players even coming into the draft probably since LeBron, at least when it comes to just media hype and attention and everything.
Absolutely.
Like that.
Absolutely.
And for him to win Rookie of the Year over him and honestly be talked about as being the better player in that draft class over him is crazy.
Well, yeah, because up until this year when Zion kind of started playing better, there was a lot of talk on, okay, let's redraft that draft. Yeah. Do you take Ja first? And a lot of people are like, well, you have to take him first. Look how much better he is and the availability. Like, he owned it. His story is awesome.
I'm right. I think it is in Kentucky.
It was in Kentucky, North Carolina. I thought it was in North Carolina. I know they're close to each other.
Yeah, I looked up Murray State. It's Murray.
Well, it's not in Kansas.
Murray, Kentucky. Oh wait, I said Kansas or I said Kentucky.
Yeah, you said Kansas.
You said Kansas.
Well, I said Kentucky. I'm in Kentucky. My bad.
No, it's all right.
It's good, man.
I mean, I guess I'll give my.
I'll be honest. I thought Murray State was in Ohio, so I mean, I was wrong too.
Oh man.
I mean, it's not a school that you really.
No, it's not what you
think. It's a small school.
My whole thing is, I'm not gonna say like Morant is dumb or anything like that. I just feel like decision making wise, maybe he's immature. So hopefully this is something that he takes a look at and he goes, look, my daughter's the most important person to me right now. I can't put myself in situations that now put her in jeopardy. Whether that's him getting locked up or, you walk up on somebody with a gun on your hip, there's about 5 million ways that situation could go. And the worst could be you end up getting shot or something like that. So if he takes this time away, he comes back from it, he's a better person, more mature and all that, fine. If this now becomes like the first incident that we hear about in a line of these that come in the years that come, then Morant might go down as one of those what ifs that we have with a lot of these great players. What if this didn't happen? How great could they have been? This situation for me was just like Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was a model citizen until all of a sudden we started hearing about these massages and stuff, and everybody was like, that guy's doing this? Like, where did that come from? And that's something with Morant. Like, I heard about gun on a team playing and all that, and I was like, that doesn't sound like Morant.
That's not Ja.
Yeah,
that's not Deshaun. Yeah,
like, but I don't know.
How many weeks left do we have in the season? Like 5 or 6 weeks left in the season, or how many weeks do we have left? Because I don't see Ja coming back. I don't see Ja coming back at all.
There's roughly 20 games, so I mean, however that plays out.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
I don't see Ja coming back this season, but maybe playoff time, maybe.
I can't see that because now if
if they're not going to have him play in the regular season, they won't allow him to come back
especially if he's not just getting investigated by the NBA now. He's going to be investigated by the actual bureau of about that state.
So he's not going to come back until the investigation's done. Yeah, however long that takes, you don't expect to see him on the court. Even after that,
and then that case that he accused on in 2021 too, like that.
Say something about it as well. Plus, if I'm a Grizzlies fan, do I necessarily want to see Ja Morant on the court right now? I may not want to.
You might need some time away from that. You might need some time. And the thing that
they played tonight because the Lakers actually did it.
The thing that's really important to take away from this too is, rewind back to 2010 when the Gilbert Arenas thing happened. Don't know about anyone else's ages, but I know that for me it was a big deal, and the media was fully hating Gilbert Arenas. Like, it pretty much ended his career. Like, I know he played a few more years and everything, but he was never the same after that, never viewed the same. It doesn't seem like in today's world that we've kind of matured. There seems to be a lot more support, a lot more people wanting to help him. I saw, Jalen Rose said, had some really wonderful things like that were introspective of him and trying to help him. So he's going to have the support. People are going to be rooting for him, unlike the situation we have with Gilbert. It's just a matter of, like you said, Kyle, is this going to be the last, or is this going to be the first as far as the incidents go? And I think we can all hope and pray that it's only the first, because he's a phenomenal talent. And like you said, like, I wasn't believing any of this stuff when I was hearing it, but it's true. Same with Deshaun Watson. I wasn't believing it, but it's true. And it just goes to kind of show, like, no one's perfect. We're all flawed. We all have our issues, and let's just hope he can get the help that he needs. And it seems like if he does, he'll be welcomed back into the league, but I don't think it'll be this year.
Yeah, and the good thing about it, it's like the things that he did were wrong, but he didn't do anything too serious to where it like changes your whole viewpoint on it and it makes it impossible. Like, what he did is very wrong. Like, if he did point a gun at a team, like, that is not okay, or just even brandish or show it, that's not good, especially being a big influence to a lot of younger people. But again, it's something that, like, if he gets the time he needs, he takes help, he admits his wrongs and does whatever he has to do, like, the league will accept you back. It might take some time. You also have to accept the fact there is going to be some people that won't accept you back in the league, and that's just how some people are. But with that being said, like, you got lucky. Like, this is kind of like your, hey, I need to, like, fix something moment, because it could be worse. He's probably not going to face anything longer than probably a year, like a season suspension, I would imagine. Yep. So he definitely caught a big break. If you can come back next year, you took some time off, you got about 6-7 month break, come back, you're refreshed, everything's good in your mental system, and then you come back and play really well, and the Grizzlies the first, second seed again, your team will accept you as long as you can play like you did before. As long as you can go out there, do your job, don't have any crazy activities, your city will love you.
Yeah. It's not like his talent.
Oh, they'll love him. They'll love him.
It's not like his talent dipped off. It's just his action off the court.
Now he was still playing great. He was an all-star this year.
Yep. Yeah, he'll be fine. It's just a matter of this is his rock bottom or not. Like, you can't help some people that need help. They have to hit their rock bottom, and we can just hope that this is it for him, and he can get the help that he needs. And I think he does. I think it'll work. I think it'll be good.
I'm very optimistic as well too.
Connections in the community and all that, and coming to next year, have the whole city behind him, have the fan base behind him.
I'll be rooting for him.
Take it away from there. Yeah.
Yep.
Like, it's kind of like Dylan said. You could look at all this and be like, look, he's 23. He has money. He just had some bad judgment. We can live with that. But like I said, if this is something that we hear about, maybe not even next year, but like 2 years down the line, it's like Ja Morant out in the club with a gun again. We'll be like, here we go with this again.
Yep.
But hopefully it's not that way. And
I think an NFL. I think Pascal Burrows came out and said something. He was like, "Yo, don't be
Burrows shot
like
himself in the leg in the club."
Yeah, and in his career, he was never the same after that. And he was a great wide receiver, and it just never was the same. Like,
he was like, "Don't do what I just did, Josh."
There's so many stories of people not making the right decision, and I think
in
today's world, it could be a lot different.
And I'm glad all of these talents from whatever sport are like, "Hey, don't do this. Like, we did what you did, and it is not fun. Like, it will mess up your career."
Strong had an opportunity to have a driver. Drive him around Las Vegas.
There's so many situations.
He drove himself. Boom! Killed a girl and killed a girl. Like,
it's any given moment, and I'm glad. And I'm also like, yeah. I'm also we've talked a lot of like, I wouldn't say bad about Ja, but it's also good that like he came out and was like, yeah, like I need help. Like, yeah.
See now, do you? Like it's like the Kyrie statement. Do you think that was him, or do you think that was PR?
I think it was him.
Kyrie, it was PR. Ja Morant, I'm quicker to believe.
I think it was Ja.
I think it was.
I think that was Ja. I would believe Ja. The whole Kyrie thing, I didn't.
No, Kyrie's not doing. I don't believe anything Kyrie does. But I think Ja said this. But to be fair to kind of what you're saying, Jordan, like we also need to see it. Like words are great. Let's see what you do.
Exactly.
Does he really mean that, or did it?
We'll see what he does. 100%.
All that we can do now, to like tie a little bow on this, all we can do now is just wait and see. We'll see what the NBA says.
You're ready to jump that one, huh?
Yep. Whatever the NBA wants to do.
I'm never gonna put Ja Kyrie in the same.
No, I'm just a statement.
And Kyrie let us all know the minute he got to Dallas, he took it all down. That let you know everything you need to know about Kyrie.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Bye. Have fun in Dallas. I hope they lose.
Put a little bow on the Ja situation. All we can do is time will tell. Like if everyone gives him his support and believes in him, I imagine he can come back and be the great guard that he was, the all-star that he literally was before any of this happened.
He was going to be all NBA probably too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Grizzlies are going to be the second, third, first. This team definitely had. This is like the toughest. I saw like a picture today of like where the NBA's top teams were last year compared to what they were like at this point. That's totally, completely like different. And so it's like the NBA is at the closest point it ever was. So definitely sucks, but
yeah. So like you said, Dylan, we'll just see. Time will tell with Ja Morant. I mean, it's kind of an odd transition, but I guess we go to the basketball reference player.
Let's do it. Let's wrap up the episode.
Let's end up with a good note.
Positive note. Some happiness. Some laughs. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So here we go. Here's
the
easiest one. Okay. Who is this player? Started 15-16 with the Sixers, played for 4 years, went to the Pacers in 2019-20, where he currently is playing for them as a point guard.
So can we just spread out the answer? Or are we going to go one by one?
No. Just if you know the answer, say it. But I'm blanking on his name. But
yeah, when you come up with a name, go ahead and throw it out there.
So he's currently on the
Pacers. Yep. After he's fourth year at the Pacers, after 4 years with the Sixers, and he's a point guard.
Man.
I mean, if you look at the game started column, it'll also let you know he's a bench guard. So you could think about that as well. But Dylan, I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
I was muted. There was one player I keep thinking, but I wasn't sure. I don't know if this player plays for. Is it TJ McConnell?
Dylan, it is TJ McConnell.
Okay, so I thought it was McConnell, but I wasn't sure if he was drafted by the Sixers or if he still played for the Sixers. I wasn't sure if he was on Indiana. I thought it was McConnell from the start, but
okay. Like I said, that was the easy one. Let me pull up the moderate one now. All right, so this player's gonna have a little bit longer career. Who is this player? As you can see, they've been in the league since 06, 07. Started with the Grizzlies.
it was Utah now.
It kind of
12, 13 went to the Raptors. 13, 14 went to the Kings.
the numbers are kind of like. Can you expand? Or never mind. Let me
Oh, it's Gay. Is it Rudy Gay?
Jake, it is Rudy Gay. All right.
Yeah. I see that. Yeah.
The thing that helped was he went to Utah, and I'm like, okay, which guy's old and a power forward for you? Oh, it's Rudy Gay.
All right.
Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, man, was Rudy Gay on the Kings? I thought he was like, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I was going to wait until that Spurs, the SAC and the SAS messed me up. So I was like, who's that?
All right. Now the difficult one.
Oh boy, this one's gonna.
I don't even think it's that difficult. I think you guys got this one.
All right.
Who is this player? Started with the Celtics in 13-14, went to the Heat 17-18, Houston 2021, Pistons 21-22.
Oh, Kelly Olynyk.
Yep.
It is Kelly Olynyk, yeah.
It is Kelly Olynyk.
I actually did not think of this when I was doing these.
Utah Jazz. That's all the reason.
Yeah, I saw that Utah one as the last one, and I was like, he's gonna get Olynyk. Like, I was like, he's gonna. If anyone's gonna get this one, it's gonna be Jake. That's a Utah player.
That was good though. Like again, both of those last two. If I'm not a Jazz fan, I'm gonna be a little more stunned because especially for Rudy Gay, the Spurs Kings, that would have got me. But being a Jazz fan. I think I would have got Rudy Gay, but I'm not sure if I would have got that Kelly Olynyk one. I would have been like, who played for Boston? He played for a lot of teams. That was tough.
Yeah, I know. I think I maybe would have got it because he did what, Boston to Miami,
and then he was in Detroit too. And I think
I think
if he did go to
Miami,
Utah, the Detroit part would have really stumped me because I don't know much about what goes on in Detroit.
All right, so I got to know for next week, not to end with one of your teams.
Don't make it any active players. That helps us out a ton.
Yeah. Maybe that's probably what I do. Difficult should be like recently retired or something like that.
Do something like that. Make the cutoff not too bad, but if
we ain't doing the ABA. We ain't doing no ABA.
Oh, who was that last week that was asking all those ABA questions, man? That agitated me.
He conned us.
ABA. That's too old. That's like the 50s.
Right. It's like I'm not 80 years old. I mean, not to say that he is.
It's like I'm sorry, I don't know Casey Jones' whole career. Like I can't tell you.
You say ABA, I know like 3 guys off the top.
Exactly.
So it's not them, I'm lost. But I think that was a good way to end it off.
Pretty good laugh.
Oh yeah, that game's always fun. I always like doing that. It definitely tests my knowledge well. We got to do it. We got to do it with some NFL stars at some point too. And try to see if we can guess that. That would be a little rough.
I'll probably save that for like draft week. We'll do an NFL.
Let's do it.
Okay. I mean, great show because we had Freddie and Gene jump on. I mean, I had no problem sitting back and listening to those two go back and forth. Definitely entertaining. Any final thoughts from any of you before we get out of here?
John Jones is the heavyweight champ. Woo.
Oh,
yeah,
that was cool.
Dominated Cyril Gahn in first round. Yeah, it was. Told you, Jordan, you shouldn't have bought the pay-per-view. That's all I'll say. Good thing you did. Good thing you did.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a great show. Like we had extra guests on, got some heated hot take debates. Got Freddie saying that Daniel Jones is up for 1,400 yards and he's better than Lamar. I mean, This is granted. Freddie also said the Lakers would go up to the 6th seed in the playoffs, but with all the trades,
he's not going to let that one go.
I know, but I'm still looking at them.
That's a more realistic thing, right? I mean, they had
Memphis tonight. Sadly, that's more realistic than Daniel Jones running for 1,400 yards. But no, it was a great show. I love having everyone here, and always glad to be part of it.
Yeah.
Jordan, anything?
No, I'm freaking hungry, man.
That's literally your statement at the end of every episode.
Every episode, I'm hungry.
Because we go for 2 hours, I'm like, I need something to eat.
I mean, Freddie and Gene threw a curveball for sure, bro.
Oh, no. I
was here for it. Yeah.
And Jordan, you're a good sport. You're a good sport for all of that shit. It was fun.
Yeah.
I took the heat for it, like Lamar and everything. So it's all good.
It's all right.
It was good.
Well, we'll be back in purple and gold by the when toss is done.
All right. We'll see.
Yeah, I guess we have that in the chat now. All you Laker fans talking about, oh, look at us. We're tied for 10th now.
Oh, no. I've been
playing. Here we come. I'm ready for my date with the OKC Thunder.
Jordan, the Lakers play Memphis tonight?
Yeah, and I think Pau Gasol is going.
Oh yeah, it's Pau Gasol's retirement day.
No, that's cool. Good for him.
Okay, I'm not mad at that. I like Pau Gasol.
Yeah, they put 16 jerseys on, like, I'm not sure if it's a t-shirt or whatever, however they do it, a towel, I don't know what it is, but they put like 16 shirts on all the seats today. It was pretty cool. It was a good sight.
That's cool. I like it.
I can respect that. Well, we are here every Tuesday, 7 o'clock. So make sure, like button, subscribe, share it out as well. It's the Big Three podcast from Zion Williamson Stunt Double. I mean, you can check Jordan's Instagram and TikTok to get that joke, but
I can real quick. I mean, I can pull your pictures up real quick, man. Right up. Yeah, y'all are.
Just go ahead and do it. Yeah.
Let me pull up real quick.
So, Jake and Dill, if you don't know, apparently people have been telling Jordan that I apparently look like a young Zion Williamson.
Okay.
Hey.
So yeah, Jordan went ahead and tried to put some evidence and all that. So. And my line is I play as many games as he does. So
are y'all ready?
There you go.
5,
Let's see it.
4. So this is the first picture. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
Hey.
That's a compliment, man.
Hey, I'm gonna change my name to not Pelican Star Zion Williamson.
Not Pelican Star. That's even funnier. If you put not Zion Williamson, that would be normal. But putting not Pelican Star Zion Williamson, just in case people get you confused with any other ones.
Yeah, you know.
I'm like, yo, because they were like, because it was one episode I put like a little clip of like our show or my show, and in the comments like, is that Zion? What Zion? I'm like, no, brother, it's my co-host Kyle. I'm like, and that's Zion. How you on the podcast?
You got Zion Williamson in the chat?
I was like, I got the connections, man. I mean, I should have said, yeah, Zion. Yeah.
I mean, you missed the boat on that one. Can only blame yourself. But yeah, so like I said,
that's clickbait right there.
Yep, that's all clickbait. Everyone would be disappointed.
Yeah, well, now you got to use that for marketing, Jordan.
There we go. There we go.
But yeah, so from the crew for Jordan, Jake, Dylan, not Pelican Star Zion Williamson, we are out until next week, 7 p.m. See you guys next week. Enjoy the rest of your night. All right, we're gone.